Episode 91. Those Jew kisses. "Oh, so is that an intentional attack then?" said Dario, who had just woken up, had a hint of laziness on his face. His sleepy eyes were also exceptionally sexy and mesmerizing. Compared to the confident, businesslike Dario in the outside world, Jade felt that this Dario was more real and moving to her heart. It was only now that she felt that the two of them were just ordinary people. She felt that the distance between them was not so great. Then she reminded herself that this was just her imagination. "That's not it. I'm going to get up." Jade frowned and was about to get up when he stopped her. Jade felt that Dario's eyes were more enthusiastic than usual. He was still staring at her. At the same time, she also felt that her shoulders were a little cold. She looked down and found that her shoulder strap had slid down. Half of her chest was exposed. She could also clearly feel that the thing under her seemed to have swollen a little. Jade screamed, "You damn pervert! You hooligan! Stop looking at me, you bastard!" She quickly reached out her hand to cover her chest. She covered Dario's eyes with her other hand and pulled her strap back up. However, it didn't seem to be of any use. Dario took the opportunity to pull her hand off his eyes and kiss her hard. What surprised Jade the most was that he stuck out his tongue to lick her slender fingers. His wet tongue wrapped around her fingers. A strange feeling spread from her fingers to her entire body in an instant. Jade was so scared that she quickly pulled her hand back and said in a panic, "Mr. Foster, I'm really going to get up. Get out of the way. Anyway, there's nothing else to do today. We can stay in bed," Dario said unhurriedly. "What are we doing on the bed? Let's talk about life and ideals. We can also do something fun." When Dario said this, he emphasized the word fun. Jade was shocked. She was not stupid. "No, I'm going to get up." Jade pushed herself up, but Dario rolled over and easily pressed her down. He even held her hands with one hand and placed them on top of her head. Jade's face instantly turned red. Dario stared at her chest that kept moving up and down as she breathed heavily. Then he reached out another big hand and carefully touched her white neck. He continued to slowly move his hands down. His warm palm. It was as if she had the power to calm her down, but she felt something was wrong. He had pressed his hand on her chest. Jade screamed again. "Mr. Foster, what are you doing? Let go of me." This was too hard to accept. Her chest had never been touched by a man before. "What? You flirted with me just now. Now it's my turn to flirt with you. This is called reciprocity, understand?" Then, while she was surprised, Dario stuck his nimble tongue deep into her lips. His hands were still touching her chest. Her clothes were made of very thin and smooth silk, so they felt very good to the touch. They were especially soft and comfortable, and Dario's waterbed rippled along with their movements. Jade could clearly feel Dario's body heat, passing through that thin layer of fabric to her body. He pressed tightly against her body, making her shiver uncontrollably. The most important thing was that the behemoth beneath him was near Jade's most private place. She was instantly embarrassed, and her face was so red that the color reached her ears. Although they were separated by her underwear, she could still clearly feel the shape of that thing, as well as its size and temperature. Jade didn't dare to move at all, afraid that it would ignite a fire in her body. At this moment, her heart was almost jumping out of her chest. Dario could not control himself anymore. The kiss became deeper and deeper. He forced Jade's tongue to respond to him. It was only when the kiss was about to suffocate her that he was willing to let her go. Looking at her rosy face, he kissed her neck again, and then her sexy collarbone. His kiss was very gentle. His lips were also very soft. Jade actually felt a little comfortable for a moment. Her once clear eyes were now covered with a layer of fog. She narrowed her eyes, and suddenly felt a strange sensation coming from her chest. This was an experience that she had never felt before. A kind of soft, strange feeling immediately spread throughout her entire body. Jade suddenly realized that Dario was kissing her chest. Although it was separated by her pajamas, she could still feel his wet tongue attacking her sensitive parts. First it was kissing, then softly biting. All of this happened too suddenly. Jade didn't even have time to think, and her mind immediately went blank. His other hand was not idle either. He touched Jade's other soft breast. He squeezed harder, and Jade could not help but let out a muffled groan. Nah. When she made this noise, Dario's eyes immediately narrowed. His throat also began to become unusually dry. His lower body became hot. Jade immediately covered her mouth. Her heart was beating non-stop. How strange. What had just happened just now? She could hardly believe that she was the one who had called out in that voice just now. It can't be. Was that voice too lewd? Too coquettish? She simply could not imagine that she would actually make such a sound. Now Jade's entire body began to soften. She fiercely bit her lower lip to keep herself calm. With a forceful push, she pushed Dario to the side. After that, she nervously straightened her clothes. "Mr. Foster," she said, "don't do this. I'm really going to get up." However, Dario didn't seem to want to let her go. Instead, he hugged her slim waist and buried his head in her soft chest, intoxicated. "Mr. Foster, let go of me now." Jade bit her lips tightly. She didn't want to moan again accidentally. She tried her best to restrain herself, but she was afraid that she would fall in love with him if she kept doing this. The more Jade resisted, the more Dario was unwilling to let her go. He tightly hugged her, his eyes full of love and desire. Then he bit her earlobe and breathed into her ears. Episode 92. First, Call Me Dario. Just as Jade was lost in love, Dario's big hands secretly moved from her waist to her inner thighs. Jade instantly felt a chill run down her lower body. She woke up and found that Dario had actually taken off her underwear. His lower body was approaching her most private place. Jade became even more and more flustered, and she resisted him with all her might. "No, Mr. Foster, let me go. You promised me you wouldn't do that to me." Jade's eyes were filled with lust and tears. Dario saw her tears and hesitated. He stopped moving, but he narrowed his gaze and intently looked into her shy eyes. He smiled and moved close to her ear. Then he said in a low and charming voice, "If you want me to let go, just call me by my name." Jade's heart jumped. What? Call him by his name? This? Jade looked at him awkwardly. "Don't you want to call me by my name? All right. I'll give you another choice. You can call me your hubby." A smile flashed across Dario's face. His tone of voice was really hard to refuse. Jade covered her face shyly. She didn't want to call him her hubby, or call him by his name. What should she do? "Mr. Foster, don't do this, okay?" Jade wanted to talk to him, but she forgot that talking to him always just made her suffer. "Then I won't let you go," Dario said. "Why did it become like this?" Jade replied. "Think carefully before you answer. If you don't agree, I don't know what I'll do." After speaking, Dario revealed a wicked smile and pushed his body forward. Jade's lower body couldn't help but tremble. She could clearly feel that his lower body was pressing against her lower body. He was uncomfortably close to her, as if he would drill in at any time. She tightened her body and didn't dare to move. When she saw that he had done something, she hurriedly reached out her hand and pressed against his chest. "Dario!" Jade closed her eyes and panted heavily as she nervously called out his name. Then she looked at him carefully and asked anxiously, "Is it okay now?" That was the first time Jade called him without using his surname. In Dario's world, very few people called him by his first name. The common name by which he was called, Mr. Foster. Miss Monica was the person that most often called him by his first name. Hearing his name called out from Jade's mouth was crisp and pleasant to his ears. He really wanted to hear her call him that for the rest of his life. "Not yet." Dario had an evil smile on his face. He had planned to stop after she called out his name, but she was really too attractive and made him want to ruthlessly bully her. Afraid that Dario would act recklessly, Jade didn't dare to resist at all. She called out his name obediently. "Dario!" Jade called out. She called out his name with even more emotion than she had before. A slight trembling in her voice made Dario's body go soft. It made him want to hear it again. "Dario! Dario!" Jade was afraid that he would still say no, so she hurriedly said his name a few more times. As she was saying his name, Dario couldn't hold it in anymore. He kissed her lips again and carefully sucked her small tongue. He kissed her and lifted up her pajamas, so their skin was tightly pressed together. He could clearly feel that her white body was beginning to heat up, revealing a hint of pink. "Mr. Foster, you lied to me again," Jade said. Damn it. He had no intention of letting go. She was tricked again. If she had known he would be like this, she wouldn't have called him by his name. At that moment, Jade was extremely afraid. She wanted to resist, but was afraid that he would become even more agitated. But if she didn't resist, wouldn't she have a relationship with him? She really didn't know what to do. At that moment, Dario, had always been calm and self-restrained, seemed to have lost his rationality and self-control. His kissing moved increasingly downward, from her collarbone to her chest to her stomach. Her body was even tenser than before. Just as he was about to move down further, a bell suddenly rang. It was Dario's phone, but he didn't seem to care about it. He didn't hesitate for even a moment. Instead, he continued kissing her stomach and licking her belly button. His hands also touched the insides of her thighs and slowly moved upwards. But the loud ringing made Jade snap out of it. She bit her lower lip and suddenly realized that she was completely exposed to the air. Her underwear, which had been taken off, hung pitifully about her knees, and her pajamas were lifted, exposing her stomach to the air. She quickly turned over and adjusted her pajamas. She pulled up her underwear and beat his chest to remind him, "Mr. Foster, quickly pick up your phone. What if something important has happened?" Dario had planned to ignore the phone, but it kept ringing. It really ruined the atmosphere. He was just about to check who had dared spoil his plans, but when he saw the number, he was shocked. He frowned. The person who called was his grandfather. Dario's expression immediately darkened, as if he were a little solemn. He went to the bathroom to get a towel to wrap around his lower body. Then he grabbed his phone and went out. Jade finally let out a big sigh of relief. She quickly hid under the blanket and tidied up her pajamas. But then she realized that no matter how much she tried to tidy them up, it was useless. Forget it. It was better to change her clothes. As she was about to get up, she suddenly felt something strange below her. A familiar but sticky feeling surged through her. When she noticed what it was, her expression changed drastically. She looked at it several times and felt awkward. She quickly got up. Just when she wanted to go to the bathroom, the bedroom door opened again. She looked back and saw that Dario had returned after answering the phone. At that moment, she felt like a thief. Dario put down the phone and went forward with a smile to hug her. His mouth came close to her ear in a way that made her feel uncertain. Dario's excitement had not passed. "Mrs. Foster, where are you going?" Dario asked. "I'm going to the toilet." Jade rolled her eyes at him. The room was only so big. Where else could she go? "Go later. Let's do something first." Dario revealed a wicked smile and pressed her down again. Just as he was about to kiss her, Jade suddenly reached out her hand and pressed it between his lips. Her face was shy, and she looked a little happy. Her expression excited him. He thought that she had finally thought it through and was willing to be with him, but he would never have guessed what it was that made her happy. "Mr. Foster, we can't." Jade tightly shut her legs. A surge of warmth gushed out, and she felt the familiar traces of pain in her stomach. Usually, she hated her menstrual period more than anything, but that day, she was very glad. It was as if she had been sent a miracle. Episode 93. You are on periods? Jade was in an awkward situation as Dario continued to ask her. "Why, don't worry. Leave everything to me." Dario lifted her chin and stared at her. "No, it's just because Jade turned her head and looked away from his eyes. She stuttered and didn't know how to say it. This kind of thing? It was really too awkward. "What's wrong with you?" Dario looked at her in confusion and then took off the towel. He planned to continue with his plan. Just as he was about to kiss her, Jade finally pushed his face away and said in extreme embarrassment, "We really can't do this. It's not convenient for me." "Why?" Dario paused and stopped moving. His eyes suddenly became sharp and showed a trace of doubt. "Because," Jade tried to explain, but she really couldn't say it. She didn't think he could understand her embarrassment. "You are on periods?" Just as Jade was thinking about how to tell him, Dario took the initiative to help her. Jade was dumbfounded. She didn't even expect him to know what that was. She blushed and nodded. "Yes, Is that really true? Dario still didn't believe her words. If that was the case, how could he release his desire? But it seemed like she wasn't lying. It's true. Let me check. Just as he was about to take off her underwear, Jade accidentally kicked him in the face. Mr. Foster, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't lie to you. I'm really on my period right now. I need to go to the bathroom now. If you don't believe me, look at this. Jade looked at Dario nervously, feeling extremely guilty. Damn it. Why did she kick him? Would he think that she was very violent? At that moment, Dario's expression was very serious. No one knew what he was thinking. Jade saw that he didn't speak and hurriedly said, Mr. Foster, can you calm down first? Dario looked at her in despair and stood up quietly. He felt a little uncomfortable. Why was she on her menstrual period? Damn it! The most infuriating thing was that she seemed very happy about it. Or did she really not want to have sex with him? Jade went forward and shyly tore off the sheet that was stained with blood and brought it to the bathroom. Then the sound of water came from the bathroom. Dario thought that she could be taking a bath. He looked at the bathroom door and suddenly remembered something. He then changed his clothes, closed the door, and went out. Jade immediately stopped when she heard the sound. She felt uncertain, but went out to take a look and found that Dario had really left. For a moment, she felt very uncomfortable. Was he angry? At the same time, she was also a little angry. He had said that he wanted to stay at home with her, but in the end, he still left. She angrily ran back to the bathroom and took a bath. She rubbed her chest hard. Her chest seemed to still have his scent. When she thought of what had just happened, it seemed to her that her body had undergone some strange changes. After she took a bath and cleaned her body, Jade discovered something important. Yes, her period came. But she didn't have a sanitary pad at all. After putting on her clothes, she could only sit on the toilet bowl. She felt very awkward. Just as she was thinking about what to do, the bathroom door was suddenly pushed open. Mr. Foster, what are you doing? Jade was stunned by Dario's sudden intrusion. She hurriedly pulled up her pants and looked at him awkwardly. Dario was panting slightly. He was dressed in casual clothes as if he had just exercised. There was sweat on his forehead. Jade was wondering what he'd been doing when Dario passed a black plastic bag to her and said 2 words. Take it. What is this? Take a look at yourself. Jade opened the strange bag. When she saw pads in the bag, she couldn't believe it. He had brought her back almost every different kind of sanitary pad. There were daytime, nighttime, and mini sanitary pads. Oh my God. She didn't expect Dario to know anything about this kind of stuff. Could it be that he went out to buy these sanitary pads for her just now? She was still in shock when Dario looked at her coldly and asked, Don't you want to use the sanitary pads? Jade immediately looked at him in embarrassment. She was very grateful to him, but, Mr. Foster, I can't change my sanitary pad in front of you. Jade shyly lowered her head and wondered when he would go out. You want me to help you? Dario asked seriously. She couldn't tell if he was joking. As he spoke, he tore open a pack of sanitary pads in all seriousness and took out a daytime pad. His skillful movements made Jade start to wonder whether he was a girl or not. Jade was shocked. What was he planning to do? Was he planning to personally change her sanitary pad? Had she heard him wrong? No need. Mr. Foster, please get out of here. Jade's eyes widened. She immediately took the sanitary pad from his hands and pushed him out. Could it be that he still wanted to stand inside and watch her change the sanitary pad? Jade was extremely embarrassed, but Dario didn't feel embarrassed at all. Instead, he felt that it was natural. He looked very calm. I can leave, but you have to promise me one thing. Dario stood at the door. No matter how Jade pushed him, he didn't move at all. There was a mysterious smile on his face. Jade knew that he definitely didn't have good intentions. She decisively said, No. If you don't agree to my request, I won't go out. Dario also spoke very decisively. He was very firm in his stance. You! Rascal. Medicinal ruffian. Before Jade could finish, Dario took the initiative to say for her what she wanted to say next. She was instantly speechless and couldn't say anything. Jade's face was dark as she looked at him angrily. She felt that her blood was flowing more and more. She only wanted to change the sanitary pad. What is it? Asked Dario. You must have a baby with me. Dario didn't think Jade would react at all. Jade was scared. What? Mr. Foster, are you sure you're not joking with me? You want to have a child with me? Is there something wrong with my ears? Am I hearing right? Jade shouted excitedly. All of this happened too suddenly. Look at me. Do I look like I'm joking? Dario narrowed his eyes and stared at her flushed face. No, you said you wouldn't make love to me. She couldn't agree to this. As expected, it was too dangerous for her to be with this man. This man's thoughts were too crazy. I only said that I wanted to have a baby with you, Dario explained calmly. Episode 94. A Little Princess. Dario expressed his thoughts very naturally, but for Jade, that was too much to take in. His way of talking was about to drive Jade crazy. Is there a difference? If you don't do it, how are you going to give birth to a baby? Dario asked. Jade tried her best to control her emotions. She felt like she was going to explode. I can give you time to think about it. How long? A month? Jade looked surprised. Why would she want to have a child with him? Don't you want to have a child? Dario narrowed his eyes. He gently combed the hair on her forehead. Jade thought of having a child. She felt she was just a child herself. She lifted her head and looked at Dario with determination. She seemed to have made up her mind to have a child with him. She was stunned for a moment and looked at him questioningly. Do you want a baby? I think many women would be willing to give birth to your child, Jade said seriously as she blinked her eyes. As Dario heard her say this, his deep eyes immediately showed danger. Did she mean she wanted him to have a child with another woman? He held her chin and gently stroked it. His voice was especially low as he said, I only want to have a child with you. I don't want anyone else to give me a child. Don't you want a child? The child you give birth to will be as beautiful as you. This was the first time Jade heard Dario say that she was beautiful. She was shocked for a moment and her heart kept beating. No. If she had children, they would be as handsome as Dario, whether they were boys or girls. She couldn't help but think of Dario's cute and interesting nephew. He was so handsome for such a young age. She thought that Dario's future children would definitely be as handsome as him. If she had a child, she would have a complete family. Jade, who had never experienced the feeling of a home, actually thought about having a child at that moment. When Dario saw that she was thinking so seriously, he couldn't help but smile. He couldn't help but go up and kiss her. You can change first. Right. Jade had been very nervous since Dario left. She had never thought that Dario would ask her to change her mind. Was he sincere? After Jade changed the sanitary pad, she was about to take the sheet to the wash when Dario pulled her over. What are you doing? Washing it, Dario said as he grabbed the sheet. No need, I'll wash it myself. There's still a stain on it. Jade stared at the marks left by her on the bedsheet. She was so shy that her face was almost red. She wanted to take back the sheet but was held back by Dario. He wouldn't give it to her no matter what. You shouldn't touch cold water or work when your period comes. Lie down properly. Also, don't wash your hair for the next few days. When you go to the bathroom, wash your hands with warm water. You can't eat anything, Dario ordered coldly. Jade heard him and couldn't believe it. How did he know more than she did? When she heard his instructions, she suddenly felt warm in her heart. In the past, when it came to her period, no one cared about her. Suzanne Winslet never cared about her at all and would even make her sweep the floor. But Dario cared so much for her. If she were to say that she wasn't moved, she would definitely be lying. It's fine, I'm used to doing it. She knew that he was good to her, but it embarrassed her too much to let him wash this kind of thing. That was in the past. From now on, you are not allowed to do it. Do you understand? Dario spoke to her in a domineering tone. Then he went to the balcony. He started to wash the sheets very carefully, especially the dirty places. Jade watched from the side. She felt it was strange, but she couldn't say so. Are you so good to everyone? You really are a good hubby. No matter who you marry, you will be so good, Jade suddenly said sourly. He had said that he wanted her to marry him because he needed a wife that he liked. But if he met someone he really wanted to marry in the future, he would definitely treat that woman better. When Jade thought of this, she felt a little jealous. I wouldn't marry just anyone. He put the sheet in the washing machine before he dried it. While the washing machine was running, he turned around and carried Jade to the bed. Didn't I tell you to lie down and to not come out? Did you not hear me? Jade hugged his sturdy body and she immediately felt extremely relaxed. Dario carefully placed her on the bed. He warned, "You are not allowed to come down. I'm going to make breakfast." After a while, Dario very kindly brought breakfast in to feed her. He even took a bowl of red fruit juice and made her drink it all. Jade felt that she was as spoiled as a little princess. After she finished, she felt a slight weight on her stomach. She looked down and found it was Dario rubbing her stomach. "What are you doing?" Jade looked at him in surprise. "Does your stomach still hurt?" Dario asked seriously as he looked up. There seemed to be a trace of pain in his eyes. "It doesn't hurt, I'm fine, you don't have to worry about me. You should go and do your work." Actually, Jade felt very guilty when he treated her like this. She always felt that way. She was afraid of delaying his work by letting him take care of her like this. "Work is not as important as you." Dario reached out his hand and tapped her nose. His doting on her made Jade's heart slowly melt. She had felt pain before, but that day, she didn't feel it. Dario made her too comfortable. His simple sentence almost melted Jade's heart when she heard it. No one had ever made her feel so important. Her eyes immediately began to tear up. "Actually, you don't have to treat me like this. I'm afraid—" The tears in Jade's eyes kept flashing. She was afraid that no one would treat her so well in the future. She was afraid that if she got used to his gentleness, she would never be able to leave him. "What are you afraid of? I will treat you like this for the rest of my life." Dario held her face. His eyes were very gentle. "Go to work. I'm fine. I don't want to delay you." He did have a few important meetings to attend, but when he saw Jade like this, he was worried. He could change it to an online meeting. "I'm going to the study room. If you need anything, call me at once. I'll be able to help you very quickly." Just when Jade was feeling moved, she heard a ring. She took a look and saw that it was her phone. It was her grandmother's nurse, Sheila Mason. She answered immediately. She thought that something had happened to her grandmother and didn't expect Sheila to bring her good news. "Hello, Sheila?" Before Jade could finish speaking, Sheila interrupted her with happy news. "Your grandmother had surgery today and she is already awake. She keeps calling your name. Are you busy now?" Episode 95. A wealthy man is a man too dangerous. Sheila informed Jade about her grandmother, seeking her presence. "What? I'm not busy. I'll be right there." Jade was overjoyed to hear the news. Oh my God, her grandmother finally woke up. After hanging up the phone, she quickly got out of bed in excitement. She was suddenly at a loss. "Put on your slippers." Dario frowned when he saw that she was barefoot. He carried her back and was surprised that Jade hugged his neck with a smile on her face. "Mr. Foster, did you hear the news? Sheila said my grandma is awake. I'm so happy. Mr. Foster, thank you." She even took the initiative to kiss him, but she immediately calmed down and wanted to retreat. Dario hugged her tightly again. "I'm sorry, Mr. Foster, I was too excited." "Let's go. I'll take you to the hospital." Dario held her hand. He smiled when he saw how happy she was. Jade was a little surprised that Dario said he would take her to the hospital. He was always so quick to know what he wanted to do. "But Mr. Foster, you still have work to do." "I can finish my work later. Your grandma is my grandma." "All right, you can change your clothes first. Forget it. Sit tight. I'll get you some clothes." As soon as he finished speaking, Dario turned around and went to look for clothes in her closet. Jade's heart was warm. She originally wanted to go by herself, but she hadn't expected that Dario would want to take her to the hospital. She was very touched by how deeply he cared for her grandmother. Because it was Jade's time of the month, Dario especially found her a pair of pants and a thicker shirt. Even her underwear didn't have a steel ring. When she changed her clothes, she was a little embarrassed. "Why are you looking at me? You should change your clothes." Dario pursed his lips and pointed at the clothes he had chosen. Jade bit her lower lip. After a long time, she shouted angrily, "Mr. Foster, you are still here. How am I going to change my clothes?" "I can help you change your clothes." Jade almost fainted. According to him, she didn't want to go out. No need. In the end, Jade had no choice but to quickly take her clothes to the bathroom. She even locked the door. After changing, the two of them left immediately. When they arrived at the hospital, Jade realized that her grandmother had been moved into a very good ward. It was like a suite and had everything she needed. The place was very big, clean, and luxurious. Thinking back to the ward with many other people that her grandmother used to live in, Jade remembered that there was a smell every time she went in. It made her feel very uncomfortable. When Jade arrived, her grandmother had already fallen asleep. Looking at her peaceful, sleeping face, Jade finally let out a sigh of relief. Jade hadn't seen her grandmother for a long time, and she noticed that her complexion had improved. She remembered that Suzanne Winslet had threatened her to not have the surgery performed for her grandmother, which had frightened her. When her grandmother had finally woken up, Jade looked at Dario with gratitude. If it wasn't for him, her grandmother wouldn't have been so good. Has she been sleeping a lot? Jade asked in a low voice. Sheila nodded. Yes, she woke up for a while today and kept talking about you. I let her rest and said that you would come very soon. Sheila then noticed the man behind Jade, who had an extraordinary bearing. She couldn't help being startled for a moment. The only person Jade had brought in the past was her friend named Violet. Sheila wondered why Jade brought a man that day. He seemed like an unusual man. Sheila felt that it was a little strange, so she asked curiously, Jade, who is he? Jade was just about to say that Dario was the one who had paid for her grandmother's hospitalization fees, but Dario was ahead of her and said seriously, I'm Jade's husband, Dario. Jade's heart skipped a beat. She didn't expect that he would tell her directly that he was her husband. Dario, are you the one who hired an expert doctor for Jade's grandma? Sheila asked in surprise. She hadn't expected that the person who helped Jade's grandma would be Jade's husband. It was the least I could do. Dario lightly replied. Jade, is this true? Does your aunt know about this? Sheila was very surprised. She remembered that she hadn't seen Jade for a while. Why was Jade married to this man? There is no need to let them know. As soon as Suzanne came up, Jade's expression darkened, and her tone became terrifyingly cold. Sheila saw that her expression wasn't right and didn't know what to say. She also knew about how Jade's family treated her, but she was still worried, so she pulled her to the side. She softly said, Jade, this is a big deal. You should discuss it with your grandma. You got married in such a hurry. Marriage is a lifetime thing. Do you and Mr. Foster know that? Don't worry, Sheila. Mr. Foster is a good person. He is very good to me. As Jade spoke, she couldn't stop her face from blushing, especially since that morning he'd given her fruit juice, brought her sanitary pads, and washed the sheets. She felt fortunate to have married such a good man. I know he is good, but look at how handsome he is. And he must be very rich to have been able to pay so much for your grandmother's medical fees. I'm worried about you. Sheila looked at Jade with anxiety. She was afraid that Jade was young and insensible. She worried that Jade had been deceived. Although Sheila was the only nurse of Jade's grandmother, the two of them had always been able to talk. They had a certain amount of affection for each other, so Sheila felt she had to intervene. Sheila, what are you worried about? Jade asked doubtfully. She blinked her eyes. Sheila was almost speechless. She held her hand and was rather helpless. You silly girl, look at how handsome he is and how rich he is. There must be many women around him. I'm afraid that you will suffer. Jade carefully thought about her words. It turned out that Sheila was worried that Dario would have an affair. Jade immediately smiled indifferently and said with some confidence, It won't happen. Don't worry, Sheila. Don't worry about me. I'll take care of myself. The people around him saw him as an honest and upright man. He was almost treated as though he were gay. How could there be another woman? Jade wasn't worried at all. But it was a fact that he was very attractive and that he caught the eyes of many people when he went out. Amelia Stevens was just one example. Although Jade hadn't known him for that long, she believed that he wasn't that kind of person. Sheila heard what Jade said and didn't say anything else. After all, it was Jade's concern. But Sheila was still a little worried for her. Everyone said that the wealthy class was deep, like the sea. She wasn't sure how rich Dario was, but he must have been very wealthy to have taken out tens of thousands all at once for surgical fees. He seemed that he couldn't have been on the same level as ordinary people like them. Sheila was most afraid because she was young and her mind was pure. Marrying a man like Dario made it very easy to be cheated on, and there would likely be some unavoidable trouble, since he must have a lot of women around him. She would much rather that Jade played it safe and found an ordinary person. Episode 96. Who is he? Is that you, Jade? Suddenly a weak voice sounded in the room and made Jade's heart tremble. She quickly turned around and ran to the bedside. How long had it been? How long had it been since she heard her grandmother call her name? She really woke up. Iris Williams opened her somewhat murky eyes and seemed to be looking for something until she found Jade. Grandma, I'm here. Jade held her aged hand and lifted it to her face. Her grandma was much older than she had remembered and was no longer the grandma who could take her out to play. Why are you so thin, Jade? Are you not eating well again? Iris Williams said as she touched Jade's face with some heartache. Her voice was so soft that it made Jade's heart ache endlessly. Grandma, you're the one who's lost weight. I don't think you realize how long you've been asleep. It's my fault. I made you worry. It's okay, Grandma. As long as you wake up, it'll be fine. Jade was speechless. She was extremely excited. She had waited for this moment for far too long. Iris then noticed the man behind Jade. She immediately felt a trace of doubt and said, Jade, who is that gentleman? He's a handsome young man. Grandma, hello. Dario came forward to greet her with respect in his eyes. Jade was shocked when she heard Dario call her grandma. She hadn't expected him to call her that. Jade, is he your boyfriend? Iris was also very surprised. Grandma, this gentleman is the one who funded your surgery fees, Mr. Foster. He is a good person. He specially came to see you today, Sheila hurriedly said. At the same time, she hinted to Jade that Iris was still a patient. It would be best for her not to feel too much emotion. If she found out that her granddaughter was married, she would definitely be agitated. Jade and Dario shut their mouths and didn't talk about it. Oh, so you're Mr. Foster. Sheila has talked about you. I'm very grateful to you. Iris looked at him gratefully. Just as she was about to get up, Dario rushed forward to support her. Grandma, lie down. You're welcome. The atmosphere became a little awkward. Although Iris was sick, she was not a fool. She noticed that Jade and Sheila were hiding something from her. But seeing that they didn't say anything, she didn't say anything either. Jade, I have something to say to you in private, Iris said softly and pulled Jade by the hand. Although she wasn't very loud, Dario still heard her. But just then, someone called him. He looked at the number and went up to Jade and said something before walking out of the ward. Jade, stay here and have a good chat with your grandma. I will go out for a while. Okay. Dario picked up the phone and walked along the corridor. After dealing with the call, he was about to return to the ward when he saw an old man in his 60s. The old man had a serious expression and was wearing a straight suit. His sparkling eyes revealed shrewdness. Behind him were two people who weren't smiling. If it had been anyone else, Dario wouldn't have paid attention to them. But this old man happened to be someone he knew. Andre Peterson, the founder of Peterson Group, was one of the top figures in Washington. Although they hadn't seen each other for a long time, Andre Peterson still recognized Dario at a glance. He couldn't help but exclaim since it was hard to forget the accomplishments that Dario had reached by such a young age.
Mr. Foster, how are you? What a coincidence!
Andre took off his sunglasses and greeted Dario. Although Andre was considered Dario's senior in the business world, his tone was very polite. Any capable person was worthy of his respect, not to mention such a promising young man as Dario. Mr. Peterson, what are you doing here? Dario nodded slightly as he greeted Andre. Andre's presence in the hospital surprised him, but he didn't show it on his face. Andre was so strong and healthy that he probably didn't need to go to the hospital.
I came to the hospital to visit a patient, of course.
Andre's shrewd eyes suddenly showed a trace of complicated emotions. His eyes turned to the ward. Dario realized that he was looking at Jade's grandmother. Although Dario felt something was strange, he wasn't a busybody and had no interest in knowing who Andre was visiting. Dario didn't ask any more questions and just casually chatted with him. In the VIP ward, Andre personally went up and knocked on the door very politely. Sheila was surprised when she opened the door especially when she saw two men in black behind the old man. They were very imposing. "What do you want?" Sheila asked.
"We are here to visit,"
Andre said in a gentle tone. The man next to him handed him a bouquet of lilies. "I think you might have the wrong room," Sheila said somewhat gloomily. She'd taken care of Iris for many years, so why had she never seen these people before?
"We've come to the right room. This is Iris's ward,"
Andre said with a smile. "Who is it?" Jade was chatting with her grandmother when she heard the noise at the door. She had a strange feeling when Iris suddenly turned her head and looked at the door. Her expression changed drastically.
"Iris, I'm here to see you."
Andre went up and greeted Jade's grandmother intimately. Jade's strange feeling grew stronger, and she started to feel doubtful. Who was he? Why did he know her grandmother's name?
"You get out."
Iris turned her head and said fiercely. Her emotions began to fluctuate.
"Iris, don't be like this. I've bought you your favorite flowers."
Andre's eyes looked pained. He wanted to approach Iris, but was afraid of making her angry. He could only stand at the door.
"Jade, let them go. Who wants your lilies?"
Iris said with great agitation. The excitement caused her to let out a violent cough. Andre was so nervous that he quickly took a step back. "Grandma, don't be angry. But who are they? Why did you tell them to go?" Jade hurried forward to calm her down. Her grandma had always been very gentle to others. Why was she so harsh to that old man? This was really too strange. "Who are you guys?" Jade carefully looked at the old man in front of her. He looked very gentlemanly and wore a well-cut suit. He didn't seem like a bad person. But why was her grandmother so angry when she saw him? Andre turned his gaze to Jade with a loving smile on his face and said,
"You must be Jade. You have already grown into such a beautiful young lady. You are as beautiful as your grandmother was in the past."
Jade's heart shook, and she became even more doubtful. From what he said, it seemed like he had known her grandmother for a long time. If he hadn't, how would he have known that her grandmother was very beautiful when she was young? But why had she never heard her grandmother mention this person? Episode 97. The Mystery of His Background. Grandma Iris saw that he still hadn't left and struggled to get up to chase him away. Jade saw what was happening and hurried to stop her. Jade was extremely nervous. "Grandma, what are you doing? Quickly lie down."
"Make him leave. I don't want to see him,"
Grandma panted. Her voice became weaker. Seeing her like this, Andre felt even more pain and guilt.
"Don't be like this. Iris, I know you're awake. I just wanted to see you, and I have something important to tell you. Hurry up and get out. I don't want to hear anything from you. Get out. I want to tell you about Charlotte,"
Andre said in a serious tone. Charlotte? Jade was stunned when she heard the name, and her face turned pale. Charlotte? Could it be? Could it be? That was impossible. Jade looked at the old man in front of her in disbelief. Who was he? Why did he know her mother's name?
"Why did you mention her to me?"
Iris became even more unhappy when Charlotte was mentioned. Andre sighed helplessly. When he saw the hatred in Grandma Iris's eyes, his heart ached.
"Let's talk, Iris. Don't you want to know what happened between Charlotte and James?"
At that moment, Jade's heart became heavier. She had a feeling that this man was not an ordinary person. It seemed that he had many secrets that she didn't know, especially secrets about her family. James was her father. Jade's body couldn't help but tremble. She couldn't wait to hear what this old man knew because she didn't know anything about her parents or her background. Everything she knew came from Suzanne Winslet. But Jade didn't believe what she said. Iris's cloudy eyes were filled with anxiety and complicated emotions. Then she sighed softly, as if she had made an important decision.
"Jade, you go out first."
Jade was dumbfounded for a moment. Although she didn't want to go, she still obediently left since her grandmother didn't want her to hear their conversation. But Jade suspected that her grandmother must have something to hide from her. Jade walked out in disappointment. She didn't expect that she would see Dario the moment she opened the door. She was very touched to see him. "Mr. Foster, have you been waiting for me here?" Jade took the initiative to hold his hand, and she looked at him with all kinds of feelings. What had happened with the old man just put her in a very complicated mood, so she really needed someone to comfort her.
Are you okay?
Dario looked at her worriedly. Although he didn't go in, he heard some things from outside, and when he saw Jade's expression, he knew something must have happened. Jade shook her head and said, Mr. Foster, I'm fine. By the way, do you still need to go to work? If you do, don't worry about me. I can take care of myself. Little idiot, you're so stupid. How can I trust you when you're by yourself? Dario frowned slightly, although he knew she was safe in the hospital. But he didn't want her out of his sight. I'm really fine. Mr. Foster, don't treat me like a child all the time.
But you are a child.
Dario helped her tidy up her hair at the corner of her forehead. She didn't expect Sheila to suddenly walk out at that moment. She just happened to walk out right when Dario was fixing Jade's hair. But what Sheila paid attention to wasn't their intimacy, but Jade's swollen face. Sheila quickly went up and anxiously pulled Jade to the side. She gently asked, Jade, what happened to your face? Did you get hit? Having been a nurse for so many years, Sheila could see the signs at a glance. No. Jade was afraid that Sheila would worry and immediately spread her hair to cover her face. She had forgotten that Amelia Stevens had injured her face. If she had remembered earlier, she would have put on makeup. Don't lie to me. Was it Dario who hit you? Sheila asked nervously. No, Mr. Foster is not that kind of person. The marks are from when I was filming. Please don't tell my grandma. I'm afraid she'll be worried. Jade immediately explained the situation to Sheila. Sheila frowned as if she didn't believe Jade. She even looked Dario up and down carefully to try to tell if he had done it. She had seen many people in the hospital who looked very elegant, but were actually very shameless. After hearing Jade's explanation, she didn't know what to say. She said doubtfully, Aren't marks from filming all fake? Why did that person really hit you? It's for better effect, of course. Don't worry, Sheila. You can go back to work. Okay. After Sheila left, Jade realized that Dario's expression didn't seem right. She thought he heard their conversation. She went forward and carefully said, Mr. Foster, don't misunderstand. Sheila also cares about me. You are so good to me. You would never hit me. After speaking, she even took the initiative to bury her face in his embrace. She was also worried that she would be shy if someone saw her, so she didn't stay for long. Dario touched her nose, and a faint smile appeared on his face. I know all the people who are good to you as well as those who are bad to you. Dario was very vague, but he also clearly expressed his feelings. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given Sheila twice her salary for simply taking care of Iris. Mr. Foster, Grandma finally woke up. I want to stay at the hospital, but you can go to work now. Jade seemed a little absent-minded as she spoke. She was still thinking about the conversation between her grandmother and the strange old man. She was really concerned because of the person they were talking about. It seemed that what they were talking about had something to do with her background. Then I'll come to pick you up when I get off work, Dario said gently as he rubbed her head. Mr. Foster, I meant that I want to stay here with Grandma tonight. I don't usually have time to stay with her, so I want to take advantage of this rare opportunity, Jade said carefully while she looked up at Dario. Before she could finish, Dario interrupted her and said, I understand. Then I'll come tomorrow morning. Jade was a bit surprised to hear him say that. She didn't expect him to agree so readily and thought that he'd make her go back home to sleep. But there was no expression on his face, which made her feel very uncomfortable. She didn't know whether she should be happy or sad. Mr. Foster, be careful on the road. Before Jade could finish, Dario said coldly, I'm leaving. He then left quickly. Jade was stunned on the spot. When he left, she stared blankly at his back. She suddenly felt a little sad. He left so coldly. Could it be that he blamed her for something? She shook her head and muttered to herself, Impossible. Mr. Foster wouldn't blame me. But why did she suddenly care so much about his thoughts? Wasn't there no love between them? Jade didn't understand what she was thinking. Episode 98. Was it a dream? In the VIP room.
Iris, I really just want to see you. I know you don't want to see me, but your body is more important.
Besides feeling guilty, Andre also felt a kind of longing. Besides hatred, Iris only felt disgusted.
Andre, don't think that I'll forgive you just because you say that. I'll never forgive you. I'll never forgive your family. If it wasn't for your daughter, how could have James died? It was you who killed him. I only had one son.
Iris cried and screamed. It was because of that accident that she was so agitated and bedridden. If it wasn't for the Peterson family, her family would never have been reduced to its current state.
Andre, get lost, return my son, return him to me.
Iris found it hard to breathe. She seemed to be in a very difficult situation. Andre became very nervous when he saw this. He wanted to help her, but she pushed him outside with her weak body. She would rather ring the bell and wait for the nurse than be touched by him.
Don't be like this, Iris. I'll leave immediately and come back to see you another time.
Andre saw how unwilling she was to see him and knew that he couldn't talk with her any more that day. He didn't want to anger or hurt her. Doing so would only make his heart ache even more.
Get lost. I don't ever want you or your family to come and see me in this lifetime. You're all murderers.
Sheila rushed in when she heard the bell. Jade, who was outside the door, also noticed that something wasn't right. The two of them immediately rushed in.
Grandma, quickly lie down.
Jade came in and saw that Iris had actually gotten up. She suddenly felt flustered. She found the situation very difficult, but finally said to Andre, "Sir, my grandma's health is not good. Can you please leave right away?" As soon as Jade's voice faded, Andre turned around and left. There was still sadness in his eyes. Jade looked at the lonely back of the old man. Her heart ached for reasons she didn't understand, but she felt it had something to do with him. She shook her head helplessly. The noble aura emitted from that old man was incomparable. She was just an ordinary person. How could she be related to someone like him? After he left, she quickly turned around and gently comforted her grandmother. "Okay, Grandma, he has left. Your body has just recovered from the operation. You can't get too excited. Do you understand? Come back to the bed and lie down." Seeing Andre leave, Iris slowly calmed down. The doctor gave her a tranquilizer in time. Iris then went to sleep, since she was tired after the commotion. Jade and Sheila watched her together until midnight. Iris slept peacefully and didn't get up in the middle of the night. Jade saw that her grandmother shouldn't have any problems for the rest of the night, so she told Sheila to go back and rest. She'd originally planned to sleep in the lounge room for the night, but then Sheila told her that before Dario left, he booked a VIP room next door for Jade. He said she could go and rest if she was tired. Jade didn't expect that he would especially book a room for her. She didn't want to use it because she felt it was too extravagant. How expensive was a night in that place? When Sheila saw Jade dozing off on the hospital bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, she hurriedly woke her up and told her to go to the room next door to sleep. "Let me watch your grandma, Jade. I'll change shifts with you. The room has been paid for. It would be a waste if you didn't sleep in it," Sheila said softly. Jade was so sleepy that she couldn't open her eyes. And what Sheila said made sense. Seeing that her grandmother was sleeping peacefully, Jade felt relieved. "Okay, Sheila, if you can't hold out, wake me up. I know. Quickly go and sleep." Jade went to the room next door in a daze. She was indeed very sleepy, so she didn't know why she couldn't sleep when she was lying on the bed. She touched the cold bedsheet beside her and felt the coldness spread to her body. She sighed lightly. She always felt that something was missing. When she was at home, even if she was covered by a cooling blanket, she was very warm. Why did she feel cold while covered by such a thick blanket in the hospital? It seemed strange. Jade closed her eyes. Her mind was clear, but she rolled around on the bed and couldn't sleep. She didn't know what happened, but she suddenly felt a warm breath coming toward her from the blanket. It was a breath she was very familiar with, and it made her feel very at ease. She subconsciously moved to the side and was surprised to find that there was actually a warm chest there. She exclaimed in her heart. It was this kind of feeling. It turned out that she was used to sleeping in another person's arms. The person on the bed curled the corners of his mouth and reached out his wide palm to touch her soft hair. There was satisfaction in his eyes. Jade, who had her eyes closed, moved into his arms. Her hands were still unconsciously touching the other person's body. It seemed like she was checking whether it was the chest that she was familiar with. After touching the person's chest for the last time, she finally fell asleep with satisfaction. She had a happy expression on her face. The door to the corridor in the hospital was open, so Dario could clearly see the expression on Jade's face. Seeing that she was sleeping so inappropriately, his dark eyes suddenly became a little hot. If she had continued to touch him just then, she would have touched his little friend. His big hand couldn't help but pick her up by her slim waist. He then lowered his head and kissed the tip of her nose. Jade wrinkled her nose and stretched out her small hand to touch him. She looked very cute. Dario couldn't help but hold her up a little more, just enough to kiss her lips. Huh? A familiar and cold breath hit her mouth. Jade was woken up by his breath. She slowly opened her eyes and thought that she was dreaming. Jade narrowed her eyes and looked at the handsome face in front of her. She was frightened for a moment, but then she revealed a silly smile and said vaguely, "Hey, Mr. Foster, what are you doing here? I must be dreaming, but this is a good dream." Jade shyly lowered her head and felt the heat under her body. She didn't expect this dream to be so real. Her body was warm and this made her extremely shy. Dario couldn't help but laugh. This little fool couldn't even tell whether she was in a dream or reality, but she was really cute. Then he gently lifted her chin and kissed her moist and hot lips. Jade had already been in a daze, but just then, she was even more mesmerized by his kiss. Because of his intense kiss, Jade, who originally felt a little cold, suddenly felt hot, and the temperature in her body was getting higher and higher. Even her fair skin revealed a trace of pink. It made Dario want to come forward and take a bite. "Did you miss me, Jade?" A low and bewitching voice sounded in her ears. Episode 99. Love is in the air. Jade nodded in a daze. There was a sweet smile on her face as she said, "Yes, I miss Mr. Foster." This was the first time she had taken the initiative to say that she missed him. A flash of joy flashed across Dario's eyes, and he kissed her even deeper. Jade's forehead was covered in sweat. Just when she was feeling hot and irritated, she suddenly felt a cold feeling. It was as if someone had taken off her clothes. Her eyes opened in a daze. Because she was just too tired, she didn't struggle at all and let the other person take off her clothes. She thought that it was just a dream anyway, so what did it matter? "Didn't I tell you, when you sleep, you can't wear underwear? It isn't good for the development of your chest." Jade felt that the clothes she'd been wearing were taken off. She seemed to have been changed into light pajamas. Since she'd been sleeping in her clothes, she felt much more comfortable. Her ample chest was also revealed. Dario couldn't look away. Jade still wasn't awake, but Dario immediately developed a desire for her. Jade rubbed her head against his chest again and closed her eyes comfortably. Just as she was about to cover herself with the blanket and continue sleeping, she suddenly felt a weight pressing on her body. Another body that was hot to the point of overheating was getting closer to her. Her chest was firmly pressed against her. Then, a strange feeling arose from within her body. Dario kissed her tightly shut eyes and then reached out his hand to touch her delicate nose, rosy cheeks, and cherry lips. Then his hand slowly moved down to her sexy collarbone and finally to her full chest. "Mr. Foster, don't be like this. It's so itchy. I'm going to sleep." Jade pouted and couldn't help but call out. Her words seemed to be deliberately trying to seduce him, and her hoarse and low voice together with her half-exposed chest made Dario even less able to control himself. Dario originally wanted to make love to her directly, but when he saw her sleeping so soundly, he couldn't bear to wake her up. He only cursed in his heart. Damn it. Then he immediately rushed to the bathroom and took a cold shower. When he calmed down, he returned to the bed and hugged her to let her sleep. In her sleep, Jade seemed to hear someone talking to her. "You must remember to think about me tomorrow, otherwise I'll punish you." But she was too tired and didn't have the strength to answer. She fell into a deep sleep. She didn't know if she was in a dream or reality. When she woke up the next day, Jade didn't know how long she had slept, but she remembered the night. At first, she didn't sleep well, but then she suddenly fell asleep. And that morning, Sheila woke her up. Sheila came to knock on the door and asked her to come out for breakfast. Jade hurriedly got up and patted her forehead, blaming herself. Strange, why did I oversleep? I wanted to change shifts with Sheila. Just as Jade was about to get out of bed, she suddenly discovered something important. Where were her clothes? What was going on? Why was she wearing super sexy hollow pajamas? She clearly remembered that she was wearing underwear the day before, and she didn't take off her clothes before falling asleep. Did she prepare pajamas yesterday? Jade was dumbfounded. She carefully recalled what happened yesterday, and her heart suddenly shook. She seemed to have seen Dario during the night. She even seemed to remember touching and kissing him. Could it be true? Was it a dream? Jade's face instantly turned red, but there was no one with her. She touched the bedsheet beside her and felt that it was cold. She looked around again and saw no signs of anyone around. The room was exactly the same as the night before. She felt depressed. Could it be that she sleepwalked yesterday, changed her clothes, and dreamed that she had sex with Dario? Jade, are you shameless? Calm down. Calm down. You haven't seen him since yesterday. Are you already in the heat of missing me? Jade patted her face to stop herself from thinking too much. She quickly changed her clothes and folded her sexy pajamas. She went to wash her face and found that her face looked full of love in the mirror. She almost felt that she didn't know herself. She specially washed her face with cold water several times before the touch of lust she saw disappeared. When eating breakfast, Jade felt that it had a familiar taste, and the eggs were actually fried into the shape of hearts. Why did the hospital's food seem so loving? After Jade finished breakfast, her mood was unsettled. She really couldn't take it anymore and secretly ran over to Sheila to ask if anyone had come to look for her in the morning. But Sheila said that no one had. What about last night? Jade asked nervously. She felt Dario had been there last night. Otherwise, she wouldn't have woken up in her pajamas. It was really strange. No, Jade. What's wrong with you? Hey, why is your face so red? Do you have a fever? Sheila worriedly reached out her hand to touch Jade's forehead and muttered to herself, "It's not very hot." Jade hurriedly lowered her head and said awkwardly, "No, maybe it's because I turned the heat up too high last night. I think I'm just a little hot and didn't have a fever. Don't worry." Jade then seriously turned back to look at her grandmother. Iris was much more energetic than the day before. Her appetite was also very good. She had a bowl of porridge and some side dishes. And the doctor said that as long as Iris had a good rest and took her medicine on time, she would be able to return to normal very quickly. That was the best news that Jade had heard for a very long time. "Jade, are you really in love with Mr. Foster?" Sheila looked at Jade worriedly. Sheila was especially concerned because of Jade's face, which was red and swollen. When she heard the word love, Jade's heart suddenly jumped. "It's not love, but Sheila, I've already gotten my marriage certificate with him. I'm already his wife." Jade lowered her head, and her emotions were complicated. She kept thinking about what Sheila said to her. She didn't know whether it was love or not. And now that she didn't see him, she would keep thinking about him. But how could she fall in love with him? "Jade, you have to think about your marriage clearly. Some people, you can't only look at them on the surface, especially handsome and rich men. I've seen many men in the hospital who like to flirt outside. Some men even have more than one mistress." Sheila was very worried because she wasn't exaggerating at all. She had seen the actions of many rich men with her own eyes. Many pregnant mistresses came to the hospital. If they weren't bewitched by looks, then they were by money. She was afraid that Jade would be deceived as well. "It won't happen, Sheila. I believe in him," Jade said firmly. Although she hadn't completely fallen in love with Dario yet, she thought that since she already agreed to marry him, she should choose to believe in him. And she didn't believe he was the kind of person that would deceive her. Episode 100. A Broken Promise. While Jade and Sheila were chatting, Jade received a text message. She looked at it and felt a sense of loss. The text said, "Jade, I don't have time to pick you up today. Something has come up, but you should remember to come back early to rest." She clearly remembered him telling her the day before that he would come to pick her up in the morning. He'd never broken his promise before. Jade smiled bitterly and put down her phone. She didn't even reply to the text. Maybe what Sheila said to her earlier was affecting her thoughts. After a while, she hesitatingly picked up her phone. Maybe he really did have something urgent to do. She was just about to text back when her phone suddenly rang. It was her good friend Faye. Faye was a friend from her high school, but she had cut off contact a long time ago. She dropped out of high school during her 3rd year and had only contacted Jade recently. Jade had heard that she was working as a column writer and that she was looking for inspiration everywhere. It seemed that Faye had recently returned to Washington, but Jade didn't pay much attention to it. However, she was very surprised when Faye called and asked Jade to come and pick her up.
My little darling, Jade, do you still remember me?
Faye said over the phone with a smile on her face.
Of course I do. You are my good friend. I'm at the airport now. Hurry and come look for me. I haven't been back for years and I can't wait to see you.
Wait for me. Jade didn't expect that Faye would really come back. Since she usually used public transport, she had to spend $6 on a taxi to go and pick up Faye. Her heart ached at this thought. As soon as she arrived at the airport, she called her. But just after Faye answered, Jade recognized a thin figure. She was surprised that Faye hadn't changed after so many years. She looked just the same as before. Several people were just getting off a plane, so the entrance was crowded. The scene was rather chaotic.
Faye, I'm here,
Jade shouted happily. She was only looking for Faye and didn't notice the situation behind her. Faye was wearing a bohemian dress, sunglasses, and a straw hat. She looked like she'd just come back from a vacation. Her aura was filled with confidence. She seemed different from the writer Jade had imagined. When Faye took off her sunglasses, a trace of surprise and worry showed on her face. It upset Jade to see Faye looking worried. She rushed over nervously and said,
Jade, be careful, be careful.
Oh, what's wrong? Jade turned around in surprise when she saw Faye looking so nervous. Just as she turned her head, she saw a person holding a big box rushing toward her. The person didn't seem to see her at all and was still rushing forward. Jade was at a loss. Just as the box was about to hit her, she suddenly felt a force pulling her away. She jumped in fright and then stood still as she watched Faye walk up and scold the person with the box.
Be careful. You almost bumped into my friend. Watch where you're going.
The person holding the big box revealed his head with difficulty and said apologetically,
I'm sorry.
Then Faye looked at Jade, who was pulling her. Her eyes changed drastically in an instant as if she seemed to be infatuated. Jade was all too familiar with that expression to not notice it. When she went out with Dario, he often had a similar expression.
Hey, beautiful, are you okay?
A magnetic and bright voice sounded in her ear. Only then did Jade notice that it was Faye, and she had just saved her. Those slender and beautiful hands were still holding her wrist. As soon as Jade noticed, she felt embarrassed. She quickly retracted her hands and said gratefully, "Thank you, I'm fine." She knew the moment she raised her head why Faye had such an expression. It was because there was a handsome man beside her. His handsome face was smooth, cold, and angular. His dark and deep eyes had a charming luster. His thick eyebrows, tall nose, and beautiful lips all displayed nobility and elegance. Although she often saw Dario, when Jade saw the handsome man, she couldn't help but be stunned.
I'm glad that you're okay, but you have to be careful.
The handsome man winked at her with a playful smile on his face. Jade was shocked by his smile. She didn't expect such a handsome man to be so kind. It might have been because she'd been with Dario for so long that she expected all handsome men to be cold like Dario and Lucas. Jade thought about the two of them and felt a chill run down her spine. While Jade was in a daze, a woman with a good figure and big waves pushed the handsome man to the side and said with a smile, "Hey, beautiful girl, don't be fooled by my brother's appearance. He is a pervert. He likes to lie to beautiful girls like you the most." What do you mean? Jade looked at the two people in front of her in a daze. She didn't understand what they were talking about. She looked at the woman again and thought that she was very beautiful. She was wearing delicate makeup. Jade took a closer look and noticed some similarities between her and the handsome guy. She thought they were probably brother and sister. Jade took a closer look at the beauty wearing sunglasses and felt that she looked somewhat familiar. Jade thought that she had seen her somewhere before. Was she a celebrity? The handsome man pushed the beauty away with a face full of displeasure. The man's pair of heroic eyes immediately filled with anger, and he said, "Go away. I specifically came here for my second sister's performance." Only then did Jade realize that a woman wearing a white dress was behind them. The woman was dressed very well, but her eyes were anxious. She'd been looking elsewhere and had no time to listen to what they were talking about. She seemed to be waiting for someone. "Jade, let's go. I'm so hungry." Just as Jade was thinking about who that woman was, Faye pulled her away. Oh, okay, let's go. Jade walked away in a daze, but when the person behind her spoke again, she suddenly stopped. Hey, second sister, are you still waiting for your Dario? Don't worry. He can't run. What's the rush? He said he would come to pick me up. The handsome guy teased. Jade's heart suddenly twitched. She turned her head in disbelief. What did he just say? Dario? What did he mean? Jade's face immediately darkened. She felt as if she was watching a horror movie with random jump scares. But she soon comforted herself. Was she thinking too much? There were so many people in the world with the same name. Jade, what's wrong? You're still looking at handsome men. It's okay, let's go. But just as she turned to leave, she suddenly snatched Faye's sunglasses and hat from her head. She put them on to avoid being discovered. Just at that moment, she saw a familiar figure. Episode 291. Unwanted Advice. I was in a hurry to go to the bathroom, so I hung up, Jade said. Dario didn't say anything, and Jade didn't know what else to say, so they both fell into an awkward... Episode 101. Will Jade trust him? Jade saw Dario walking in her direction. She clearly knew that he wasn't coming for her, but for the three people behind her. Jade, what are you doing? I'm a well-known writer. Are you really not afraid that I'll be discovered? Faye looked at Jade in surprise and hurriedly covered her face. She was afraid that she would be exposed. However, it was only her fantasy. Even without her hat and sunglasses, no one would find out that she was Faye, the most famous writer of the era. I'm sorry, Faye. Jade hurriedly covered her face. Her heart kept beating, as though she had made a big mistake. The beautiful woman said, Dario, you're finally here. Dario? Jade thought. Jade immediately turned her head, and her face was full of surprise. Could she be calling Dario Dario? Evelyn lowered her head and looked at Dario shyly. Her eyes were full of love, but there was no expression on Dario's face. Just as Jade turned her head, she saw the girl in the white dress throw herself into Dario's arms. There was a shy smile on her face. Of course, she didn't see the smile. Miss Monica pushed her fiercely from behind and created a scene. At that moment, Jade felt a trace of disbelief and her heart ached. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. What was going on? Jade really wanted to go up and question Dario, but she thought again, what right did she have to question him? Jade, what's wrong? God, our luck today is too good. I can't believe how many handsome guys we've seen at the airport. Jade knew that she was talking about Dario. She quickly pulled Faye away without any expression on her face. Let's go, Faye. Until the moment she left, her heart was trembling. She kept recalling what Sheila had said to her about Dario. Jade, you still need to consider your marriage clearly. You can't just look at people on the surface, especially handsome and rich men. In the hospital, I've often seen that these men like to flirt with women outside. Some men have more than one girlfriend. Flirting. More than one girlfriend. Mistresses. She also couldn't stop thinking about the text she received that morning. Jade, I don't have time to pick you up today. Something has come up, but you should remember to come back early to rest. So this is the important thing he was talking about. Is he here to meet that woman? Jade immediately turned around and left, so she wouldn't see what was going to happen. The moment Evelyn embraced Dario, his face instantly turned cold. He even pushed her away. Miss Monica, if you do something like that again, I will not forgive you. I'm just joking. Dario, don't be angry. Evelyn hurriedly stepped forward to smooth things over. She stood awkwardly at the side and looked at Dario apologetically. When Jade and Faye walked to the taxi, Jade was still in a daze. She kept thinking about the scene she had just watched and wondered, why? She even said confidently to Sheila that morning that she believed in him. But she never expected to see such a scene. She was like a wife who had run into her husband cheating on her. What was wrong with her? Why did she care about him so much all of a sudden? Hadn't she thought it through long ago? As soon as he found the person he loved, she would leave him. Then why did she care about his relationship with that woman? And she had only seen them hug for a moment. Isn't that normal? In many countries, hugging was just a way of greeting. And those people look sophisticated. They must have been educated in a foreign country. Maybe they were just his friends. Jade patted her cheek to try to keep herself awake, but just as Faye tried to pull her into the car, she pushed Faye away. "I'm sorry, Faye. I have to make a phone call first." "Okay," Faye answered. Jade took out her phone with trembling hands. This was the first time she had ever felt that anxious about calling him. She hesitated for a long time before dialing the number. Within a second, he answered the phone. Before Jade could speak, Dario's sexy voice sounded, "What's wrong?" Jade originally wanted to ask where he was and who he was with, but for some reason, when she heard his familiar voice, her heart softened. She couldn't ask anything. She held the phone tightly, bit her lower lip, and took a deep breath. "Why aren't you saying anything? Jade!" He called her Jade. This made her heart tremble again. Her longing for him actually increased when she heard him call her name. In the end, she was unable to ask him anything. She thought that she should have believed him. "Actually, I'm fine, yes." "You missed me?" Jade didn't know what to say. Dario took the initiative and interrupted her. His tone was very confident. Her face turned red, and she secretly looked at the door again. Her heart quickly calmed down. She was glad that she didn't ask him any questions. If he really had anything to do with that woman, then he shouldn't have said such words in front of that woman. She hoped that she was just overthinking things. "No, I just want you to know if you were the one who brought the breakfast," Jade said hesitatingly. She was still thinking about the heart-shaped fried egg that was waiting for her that morning. "You are so smart that you guessed it right away." Dario smiled. He didn't expect her to call to ask this. Jade felt warm in her heart when she heard his answer. She also wanted to ask Dario if he sneaked into her room last night, but she was too embarrassed. Faye was urging her to leave, so she hurriedly hung up. "I'm fine, Mr. Foster. Go ahead." She was just about to hang up when Dario stopped her. "Did you forget something?" he asked. "What?" Jade asked. "It's okay. When you go home tonight, you can slowly give it back to me," Dario said with a smile. His words were meaningful. "What are you talking about?" "Jade, let's go. Do you want me to starve to death?" Faye continued to urge her from the side. "I'm sorry, Mr. Foster. I have to go. I'll hang up first. Goodbye." Dario looked at his phone. There was a rare tenderness in his eyes. She had forgotten to give him a good morning kiss, but seeing how smart she was, he would forgive her once. Anyway, he would slowly get it back that night. "Let's go. The car is here. Driver, we're going to the food festival in the city." Faye pulled Jade into the car without saying anything. After they got in, she looked at Jade with a smile on her face, making Jade get goosebumps. "Faye, why are you looking at me like that?" Jade couldn't help but ask, despite her embarrassment. Faye immediately looked at Jade as if she were watching a good show. She even blinked her eyes. As a professional writer, she wouldn't let go of any material that was beneficial to her writing. Episode 102. A mind full of nothing but sex? Nothing could certainly hide from Faye's eyes. "Don't tell me, let me guess. That must have been your boyfriend. You're smiling so happily, I can tell at a glance." Faye looked at Jade with pride. She didn't expect that Jade would have found a boyfriend so soon. Faye was 22 years old and was still alone. Hearing the word boyfriend, Jade lowered her head in embarrassment and hesitated to tell Faye the truth. "Actually, he isn't my boyfriend." "He isn't? Then who is he? Is he your hookup partner?" Faye asked very straightforwardly. Jade's face instantly turned red. She pushed Faye and excitedly told her the truth. "What hookup partner, huh? Why are your thoughts so dirty? He's actually my husband." This was the first time Jade spoke about her marriage in front of her friends. It made her feel very strange. When Jade said the word husband, Faye was dumbstruck. During the few years she hadn't been around, Jade had changed. Before Faye left, Jade wouldn't even dare to hold hands with a boy. And she couldn't believe that Jade had already married before her. The most surprising thing was that Faye didn't know anything about Jade's marriage. As a single woman, it made her feel too awkward. "What? When did you get married? You didn't invite me to your wedding. Who is your husband? How did you meet him? Aren't you still studying and filming? Which male star did you marry? Tell me everything." Faced with Faye's many questions, Jade really didn't know which one to answer first. She could only slowly begin to explain. "We didn't hold a wedding. We just got a marriage certificate." "What? You didn't have a wedding? How can that be? Isn't the most important thing in a woman's life to wear a wedding dress? Could your husband not afford it? Faye asked indignantly as she patted her thigh. Jade was stunned for a moment. She hadn't thought about it much before, but she quickly fell into a fantasy where they began talking about a wedding and a dress. Which girl didn't want a grand wedding? But she actually married someone else just like that. Mr. Foster is very rich. Mr. Foster? Is Mr. Foster your husband? If he has money, why don't you have a wedding? I don't understand, Jade. Are you sure he loves you? Jade didn't know how to answer because from the beginning, love wasn't what brought them together. But now she actually began to yearn for him to love her. Jade shook her head with a bitter smile and changed the topic. Right, what do you want to eat? A few days ago, I was rewarded for shooting a movie, so I'll treat you. Faye had wanted to ask more questions, but she noticed Jade's expression and didn't want to pry. She would slowly ask Jade more about it in the future. Anyway, she had just returned and would have a lot of time to spend with Jade. She absolutely couldn't let her good friend suffer. Because Faye had been away for several years, there were many places that she wasn't familiar with. Jade accompanied her for a long time and helped her find a place to stay. By the time they parted, it was almost night. Jade hesitated for a moment, but still went to the hospital in the end. When she arrived at the ward, her grandmother had just gone to sleep after finishing dinner. Jade found a bouquet of flowers and a bowl of fresh fruit beside her grandmother's bed. When she asked, she was told that the flowers and fruits were sent by Dario. Dario had even specially asked Sheila where Jade was. Sheila told him that she went out with her friends, and Dario left without asking anything more. Jade was surprised when she heard that Dario had come to the hospital. She definitely hadn't expected him to send flowers. Sheila, rest up. I'll take care of Grandma today. Jade stood quietly by Iris's side. She felt that everything around her was getting better. Jade, your grandma is okay here. Mr. Foster hired another nurse and asked us to take turns caring for your grandma. You should go home tonight. Don't tire yourself out. Don't you have to go for the shoot of a film tomorrow? But I might be busy in a few days, so I'm afraid I won't have time to take care of Grandma. Sheila understood the situation and pulled her to the side. She said very directly, You silly girl. I told you to go home for your own good. I know that Mr. Foster misses you very much. He looked disappointed when he saw that you weren't here. Do you know that? Men are very energetic. You can't stay out all night. Sheila, what do you mean? Jade asked. She was a little depressed. Didn't Sheila suspect Dario only the day before? Why did she change her mind so quickly? Why did Sheila want her to go home? Sheila's face was full of disappointment. She leaned close to her ear and whispered, I mean that it's fine for you to stay here during the day, but you should go home and be with your husband at night. If you don't, eventually he won't be able to bear it anymore. What if he finds someone else? What will you do? Jade heard Sheila's words, and her face instantly turned red. Is he with someone else? Sheila, what did you say? He won't, Jade replied with a red face. But Jade thought about it carefully, and it was indeed as she said. Dario had wanted to make love to her several times, but she rejected him every time. She had agreed the last time, but it didn't happen because of her menstrual period. However, Jade believed that Dario wasn't that kind of person. Moreover, every time she refused him, he didn't seem angry. He was very good to her. He even bought pads for her. Remember that a man's mind is full of nothing but sex. Too many men go out to make love to other women because their wives are cold. Jade, I know you are very pure, but you choose this man and married him, so you'll spend the rest of your life with him. You have to take good care of your man, otherwise you'll be at a disadvantage in the future. Do you understand? Sheila spoke seriously. Jade heard Sheila say a lot of things and felt that her worldview had changed again. No one had ever said things like that to her. A man's mind was full of nothing but sex. She always felt that Mr. Foster wasn't that kind of person. But then the scene from earlier that day at the airport unexpectedly appeared in her mind. Would he really find another woman because Jade kept refusing him? Jade nodded and said, Sheila, I understand. Thank you. I'll be careful. I don't mean to ruin your relationship with him, but I watched him in the hospital. Dario treats you and your grandma well. He must be a good man. You should cherish him, especially since he is so handsome. There must be many women around him who like him. That will make it even harder for you to capture his heart, Sheila said. Hearing Sheila's words, Jade only felt that she was becoming more and more absent-minded. Capture his heart? She didn't know when it had started, but she actually wanted a place in his heart. At first, She told him that she wouldn't fall in love with him. But now, could she still say those words, sincerely and honestly? Episode 103. Jade's Kidnapping. Jade started to feel a panic in her heart. She felt that she'd fallen in love with Dario without even knowing it. Just then, Sheila suddenly leaned close to Jade's ear and asked very directly, "By the way, how long will it take for you two to have sex? Let me tell you, this question is very important." Jade was so shocked that she didn't dare to speak anymore. Sheila, this kind of thing, how can I answer that?" Jade's face instantly went red. She stuttered and couldn't even speak properly. But Sheila didn't think much of it and even patted her hand and said, "What's there to be embarrassed about? I treat you as my younger sister. We are all women, so don't be embarrassed. That we haven't yet." At that moment, Jade really wished that she could find a hole to hide in. She would never have expected Sheila to ask her such an awkward question. Hearing that they had never done that before, Sheila looked surprised, but quickly put on an earnest face and said, "What? Not yet? How can that be? Jade, this is your fault. You have chosen to marry, so you must really become a husband and wife. I know you're still young, but it's only a matter of time. If you're unable to satisfy your husband, then it's very likely that he'll find another woman." Jade covered her face and became more and more embarrassed. "Sheila, don't say any more. I know. I'll go home now." "That's good. When you get back, you have to take the initiative." Sheila's words made Jade feel dazed. But after a while, she began to reflect to herself. Was it really her fault? On several occasions, it seemed like she was the one who provoked him first, but then was unwilling to continue. After thinking about it for a while, it seemed like it was indeed her fault. She didn't understand why, but because of what Sheila had said, Jade felt the urge for the first time to really be husband and wife when she was with Dario. She walked out of the ward and was completely dizzy. Jade slowly walked and finally made up her mind to go home. But just when she was about to take a taxi, a black van suddenly stopped in front of her. A few masked men rushed out of the van and forcefully took her away. Before she knew what was happening, Jade's eyes were covered and her mouth was stuffed with something. She didn't know what was going on at all. It all happened too suddenly. Panic filled Jade's body. She trembled in fear and didn't know where she was at all. She twisted her tied-up body and thrashed about all over the place. Then someone hit her neck hard. She felt a sharp pain and fainted. When she woke up after an unknown amount of time, her eyes were still covered in darkness. Her surroundings were terrifyingly quiet. Her body was stiff, and she didn't dare to move. She thought that she might have been kidnapped. But why would she be kidnapped? She had nothing. She slowly calmed down. She had to think of a way to escape. Jade fell to the ground and carefully touched the things around her. Unfortunately, she couldn't find anything. While lying on the ground, she rubbed off the black cloth covering her face. She could just barely see things. Jade narrowed her eyes and surveyed her surroundings. She seemed to be in a very luxurious room. There was no one around, making her feel very strange. Still tied up, she stood up with difficulty. She desperately moved towards the door because her hands were tied. She struggled with all her effort to open the door of the room. It seemed like she was in an entertainment club, similar to the Scoville Club. Jade frowned. She knew this wasn't a good place. To put it nicely, it was a place where rich people gathered. To put it bluntly, there were all kinds of people here. She wanted to find her bag and phone, but she looked around the room for a long time and couldn't find her bag anywhere. Her heart skipped a beat. Has someone taken her bag? Jade wondered what she should do. She suddenly felt helpless. If she could call Dario, he would definitely come to save her, but in this situation, she didn't think he'd be able to find her at all. Or maybe he would still show up somehow. Jade gritted her teeth. She couldn't always rely on Mr. Foster. She had to rely on herself. She couldn't trouble him anymore. With all her strength, she went outside to ask for help, but there wasn't a single person in the corridor. She was soon covered in sweat. When she finally saw a waiter, she noticed that an acquaintance of hers was standing beside the waiter. It was Bruce Stevens. Why was he here? Jade absolutely could not let him see her like this. Otherwise, she wouldn't even know how she died. She silently moved in the opposite direction, but the other direction only brought her another nightmare. Let me tell you, don't try to trick me. I've seen all kinds of women. A bald, middle-aged man walked towards her, followed by a few men in black. When Jade saw that man, she was dumbstruck. Wasn't he the man who she met at the bar the last time that claimed to be her friend and wanted to do something to her? Oh my God. What were they doing at this place? Jade was stuck in a dilemma. She was stunned on the spot. When she wanted to find a random room to hide in, one of the men beside the bald guy suddenly discovered her. Tom, it's that woman. Damn it. How did she get out? Tom stared at Jade, who was still tied up and wanted to run away. He looked at her with dirty eyes. Because she was tied up and wearing a dress, Jade's legs were exposed. Her chest was also tightly tied by a rope. She looked very seductive. Tom was a pervert, and when he saw Jade, his eyes immediately lit up. Still playing. Big brother likes it. Then he noticed her face and hurriedly went forward to take a closer look. He quickly realized something and even went forward to touch her. He said, Beauty, long time no see. I never thought that I would meet you here. Jade had goosebumps all over her body. She thought that being caught by this old pervert would be the end of her. Jade was scared half to death and wanted to run. But being tied up, how could she run? You still want to run? You guys, catch that woman. Tom immediately called for someone to drag Jade back to the room. Jade's mouth was blocked, so she couldn't make a sound. She thought that this man must be someone with great power and influence. Even if she called out so the waiters could see what was happening, she thought that no one would dare to come and help her. She was in grave danger. Episode 104. Jade is tortured to drink. Jade had never felt so helpless. Would anyone come to help her? Hearing a sound, Bruce looked back out of curiosity. He didn't expect to see a group of men pushing a woman into a room, and he thought that the woman looked like Jade. What was going on? Bruce raised his hand, which had just recovered a few days ago. His eyes instantly became incomparably cold. He raised the corner of his lips. If it was really her, things would get interesting. Sir, this is the place, said the waiter respectfully. Got it, you can go, Bruce said coldly as he waved his hand. Tom had a lewd smile on his face. He was already imagining how to torture Jade. Bitch. Last time you damaged my reputation and maybe get chased away. Let's see how I'll teach you a lesson this time. Tom revealed a cool expression. But just as he was about to enter, a cold voice suddenly sounded from behind him. Tom. Tom immediately turned his head when he heard the voice. His facial expression changed drastically when he saw that it was Mr. Stevens from the Stevens Group. In fact, the Stevens Group wasn't a big deal. It was only Bruce's mother's family that was very powerful. Compared to them, Tom wasn't that powerful, so he couldn't afford to offend Bruce. Oh, Mr. Stevens, what a coincidence. Although Tom was older than Bruce, he still spoke to him with respect. That woman just now? Bruce coldly glanced at the room. Although the light inside was very dim, he still recognized at first glance that it was Jade who was struggling. Oh, I made you laugh. He respects me. What? Mr. Stevens is also interested. Tom wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. The last time he suffered because of that woman, he almost offended a mysterious person and the owner of the bar. He didn't want to offend Mr. Stevens this time. It seemed like Jade brought him nothing but bad luck. He should stay away from her. Tom had been carefully watching Bruce's expression. Sure enough, Tom noticed that Bruce had been staring at the box. He was afraid that Bruce knew Jade. Tom had an idea. He thought that he might as well retreat instead of getting himself into trouble. Oh, your little brother has been dutiful to you. He's been really good to you. Bruce licked his lips. There was no expression on his face, and no one knew what he was thinking. It was this elusive expression that made Tom even more unsure of how to deal with him. If you, Mr. Stevens, like that woman, you can have her as a gift. Tom kept guessing at Bruce's thoughts, but he was afraid that he had guessed wrongly. After he spoke, Bruce didn't say anything. Instead, Bruce used his eyes to signal him to open the door. As soon as Tom understood, he immediately opened the door for Bruce. While he cursed in his heart, he said to Bruce with a smile, Come, Mr. Stevens, come in. At that moment, Jade was being pressed to the sofa by a few men. Her hair was messy, and she looked terrible, but she was still struggling with all her might. Bruce's cold face was filled with ridicule. He slowly walked forward and grabbed her chin to make her look directly at him. Besides shock, there was hatred in her eyes. Ha, Jade, I didn't expect it to really be you. You have today too? Bruce saw her face. and tightened his grip on her. But very quickly, he retracted his strength. It was because the moment he used his strength, he felt a sharp pain. It was all because of that damn incident with Dario and this damn woman. Jade looked at him coldly. There wasn't a trace of expression on her face. Regret and hatred showed in her eyes. Her gaze angered Bruce even more. He lightly threw Jade onto the sofa and said, "Jade, don't look at me like that. You are not worthy." When he saw Jade looking at him like that, for some reason, an inexplicable fire ignited in his heart. In the past, Jade's eyes only showed admiration for him. To her, he was so high, mighty, and unique. Just then, she had a similar look in her eyes. It was just that she had changed her target. That day, he actually saw Jade looking at Dario with the same gaze, and she even snuggled gently into his embrace. Even if he didn't want them, he wouldn't allow anyone to take away his things. As he thought of these things, Bruce's eyes became even colder. When Tom saw his reaction, he became even more confused. At first, he thought that Bruce liked this woman, but now it seemed like he had a grudge against her. His eyes suddenly turned cold. When he thought about how Jade had offended him and saw how rude Bruce was to her, he revealed an evil smile. Tom said, "Mr. Stevens, it seems like this woman has a very strong temper. Why don't I help you teach her a lesson?" Bruce turned his head coldly. The atmosphere instantly became frigid. Tom's entire body stiffened when he looked at him. He thought that he had said something wrong. Just as he was about to change his words, he saw a frightening smile appear on Bruce's face. "Tom, how do you want to teach her a lesson?" Bruce asked without emotion as he raised his eyebrows. Tom smiled and picked up a glass of hard liquor on the table. He added something to the glass in front of Bruce and slowly walked to Jade's side. No one made any effort to stop him. Bruce sat leisurely on the sofa and looked at them like he was watching a good show. Jade narrowed her eyes. Although she didn't know what Tom had put in the glass, she had a premonition that it was something bad. She wanted to escape, but the men beside her held her tightly and didn't give her the chance to move. Tom, whose face was covered in oil, approached her step by step. When he saw her resist, he became forceful. He stretched out his fat hand and forced her to open her mouth and drink the liquor. "Drink. Drink for me." Jade wanted to throw up, but Tom didn't give her a chance. He lifted her head and let the spicy liquid flow into her throat and into her stomach. A burning sensation quickly spread through her body. Besides drunkenness, another unfamiliar feeling invaded her body. Tom thought that Jade wouldn't cooperate, so he prepared the drug. He didn't expect to give it to someone else. Although he was angry, he didn't dare to flare up. He had a cheeky smile on his face and said, "Mr. Stevens, enjoy it slowly." When he finished speaking, Tom tactfully led his group of men away. After walking out of the corridor, Tom spat on the ground fiercely with a face full of disdain. He said, "What was about to be mine was actually taken by someone. How did Tyler Winsett find me a woman who brings so much bad luck? Tom, calm down." The man next to him handed him a cigar. Episode 105. Jade is trapped. "Cut the crap. Give me some girls," Tom said as he hit the man next to him. His face was full of anger, desire, and dissatisfaction. "I know, Tom. Let's make the arrangements now. I promise it will be better than last time." In the private room, a series of coughs could be heard. Jade had been forced to drink and was coughing badly. Her face was flushed red, and the strange feeling in her body slowly made her notice that something wasn't right. She'd never felt that way before. Although she didn't know what the man gave her to drink, she could tell it wasn't just wine. She could feel that her body was slowly heating up, especially her most sensitive parts. Her head was dizzy, and she suddenly longed for a hug. After a while, her consciousness began to be taken over by the drug. She tightly bit her lips and resisted her desire. She felt very restless now, and her heart was twitching. Bruce stood at her side and looked down at her, watching her change bit by bit. He took a glass of wine and drank it. The spicy wine slid down his throat. At that moment, he was reminded of his past with Jade. He noticed that Jade was currently curled up. Her legs were tightly clamped, and she had an expression of desire on her face that couldn't be held back. He'd never seen her like that before. He thought that she was very charming. Bruce was entranced. He was a little thirsty, so he drank the rest of the wine in one go and threw the cup away. He pressed against Jade's body. He wanted to see her in her present sorry state, but Jade didn't let him see. She desperately turned her head away, but the more she turned away, the harder Bruce forced her to look at him.
Jade, what's wrong? It looks like you're not feeling too well. Isn't your man coming to save you? Then I'll come and save you.
Bruce patted her cheek hard. It was this pat that woke Jade up a little. She took a deep breath and bit her lips hard, trying to keep calm despite the pain.
Do you really want to make love? Please beg me. If you beg me, I'll satisfy you.
Bruce looked at her appearance. He couldn't help but approach her ear and speak to her in a low and charming voice. He smiled wickedly and began to move nearer to her, but he saw Jade staring at him with an incomparably resentful gaze. At that moment, her hatred was stronger than ever.
Go away,
Jade roared angrily.
Scumbag, don't be so arrogant.
Bruce narrowed his eyes and slapped her hard. Then he picked up the wine on the table and forced it into her mouth. He completely ignored her frowning eyebrows and pained expression. He just kept pouring the wine into her mouth until the bottle was empty. Jade suddenly felt nauseous in her stomach. At that moment, she felt nothing but despair and tears flowed down her face. She thought that she was strong enough, but she couldn't help but cry when she was insulted like this. Her vision was dark and blurry. Most of the wine had flowed down her chin. Some went on the sofa, and some went on Jade's clothes. Her dress was all wet and tightly pressed against her body, making her figure even more alluring. Under her wet clothes, the shape of her underwear was visible. Her full chest was exposed, which made Bruce very excited. Her eyes were full of resistance and hatred, which only made him even more interested. Bruce swallowed his saliva and felt restless. He pressed down on her. Jade panicked and wanted to escape, but Bruce tightly grabbed her arm and pressed against her. He fearlessly touched her body through her clothes.
How is it? Do you want to make love?
Bruce smiled evilly and looked at her clothes coldly. His disgusting touch woke her up immediately. She vaguely guessed what would happen next. She became more and more restless, and her desire gradually rose.
No, I can't do this. Mr. Foster, where are you? Bruce, get out of here. I hate you. I'll hate you for the rest of my life.
Jade screamed with tears in her eyes. She wanted to die. She would rather die than be with someone like him.
Scumbag, you're still pretending to be innocent? Look at how sexy your clothes are. It looks like that guy taught you well. After I dumped you, you couldn't wait to sleep with another guy. You're really anxious.
Bruce pinched her chin and forced her to look at him. Even if she was no longer a virgin, she had to be his woman.
Hurry up and leave. Bruce, you are so shameless.
Jade shook her head in despair. When Bruce's hand left her, she took the opportunity to bite him hard. Although Bruce dodged very quickly, she still got him. Jade completely angered Bruce. A clear voice sounded.
Damn it! You actually dared to bite me?
A heavy slap landed on Jade's face. Her jaw trembled, but she still endured the pain and gritted her teeth to not shout. She absolutely couldn't allow herself to show a trace of embarrassment in front of this man. Jade closed her eyes in despair and forcefully bit her tongue. A wave of pain came from her mouth, but she realized that those scenes in TV series where characters bit their tongues and committed suicide were all lies. She didn't want to die at all. Bruce narrowed his eyes. He felt that something wasn't right. He immediately pinched her face again and looked at her with a mocking expression.
Jade, you're too stupid. I won't let you die so easily. I still want to torture you.
Jade bit the corner of her lips, and a trace of blood flowed down her face. She looked even more charming, as if she were intentionally enticing him. At that moment, Bruce looked at her bloody lips and couldn't help that he wanted to kiss her. Seeing him approach, Jade was shocked. But then she discovered his intention, so she shut her mouth and shook her head. She didn't want him to kiss her. For a moment, a figure kept flashing in her mind. Dario. Bruce just wanted to kiss her. The more Jade struggled, the more fascinated Bruce became. In the end, he held her head and tried to kiss her forcefully, but Jade's trembling teeth were ready. Episode 106. I just want Mr. Foster. Jade secretly made up her mind. If Bruce dared to act recklessly, she would bite him to death. When the right moment came, she would take advantage of her last trace of rationality and kill him. She couldn't let Mr. Foster down. Bruce revealed an evil smile and pinched her face with one hand. He touched her trembling waist with the other. Just as he was about to kiss her, his whole body suddenly went flying. He smashed heavily against the wall of the room. Bruce had no idea how the person who attacked him came in. How did he get behind him? Before Bruce could react, his attacker kicked him again and then directly stepped on the hand that he had broken the last time. "Ah!" Bruce screamed. His handsome face twisted in pain. The man didn't seem to be satisfied with the first kick, so he kicked Bruce in the thigh again. The hard soles of his shoes almost broke his leg. At that moment, Bruce had no strength to resist. Just as he struggled to get up and see who it was, he was kicked to the ground again. This kick landed on his stomach, causing him to vomit blood. Bruce was beaten unconscious in a short while. He wasn't even able to see who his attacker was, but he felt that the man's powerful aura and cold feeling were familiar. Jade's body was hot because of the drug. She started to feel dizzy, and her vision began to blur. When she heard Bruce's scream, she tried her best to keep herself awake. She tried to open her eyes. When she saw that familiar, handsome face, the tears in her eyes poured down her face. It was him. He really came to save her again. At that moment, Dario's whole body was emitting killing intent. His cold eyes were like blades. It was as if anyone who even looked at him would be stabbed. Even Lucas didn't dare to approach him. "Mr. Foster, is that you?" Jade cried out with difficulty from her hoarse throat. Even though her voice was very soft, Dario still heard her at the first moment. He immediately turned around, and his murderous gaze instantly softened. When he saw her miserable appearance, his heart twitched. He narrowed his eyes and quickly went forward to hug her. When Jade felt his familiar embrace, she tightly hugged him back. She felt completely relaxed in her heart at that moment. She knew that so long as Dario was there, she would be safe. Jade called out, "Mr. Foster? Mr. Foster?" Jade's consciousness was becoming more and more muddled, but she still couldn't help calling out his name. The drug in her body was having its effect. Only her own willpower allowed her to hold on until that moment. "I'm here." These two simple words were filled with tenderness and incomparable love. He hugged her tightly. Her wet clothes gave off a pungent smell of alcohol and even made his shirt wet. When he saw the marks on her face, his eyes became incomparably fierce. The cold aura that he gave off was even more terrifying. It was as if he was going to drag her into hell. "Mr. Foster, I feel so bad." Jade's hands clung to his clothes. Her face was very red. Dario lowered his head to take a closer look, and then saw the wine on the table. His face immediately turned black. He guessed that Jade wasn't only drunk. It wasn't only Jade's face that was red. Her whole body was also turning red. Her temperature was also shockingly high. The bastard actually dared to give his woman a drug. A drug! He must simply be tired of living. "Don't be afraid, Jade. I'll bring you home," Dario said gently as he lowered his head. He kissed her forehead again. Jade had almost lost consciousness. She just kept curling up in his arms. When Dario came, everyone in this area of the city had been chased out. He had brought a group of police officers to sweep the area. The boss of the entertainment industry hurried over when he heard the news. He looked at Dario in horror. When he saw Dario come out, he immediately went up to him to ask what had happened. "Mr. Foster, we really don't know what's going on with this girl," the boss said in a trembling voice as he went forward. Dario didn't even look at him. He just carried Jade out and left. With an ashen face, the boss stood beside Dario. He kept muttering, "It's over. It's over. I offended him. I'm going to die. I'm going to die." His entertainment industry was about to end. He, as the boss, couldn't do it anymore. As Dario walked out of the gate to the entertainment city, Tom, who had been beaten black and blue, knelt down and begged for mercy. "Mr. Foster, oh no! CEO Foster? CEO Foster, this really has nothing to do with me. Ask your men to spare me." After speaking, Tom looked at the expressionless Lucas behind him. His eyes were trembling and his heart was full of fear. Heavens, Dario is unbelievably terrifying. He is simply a devil. With a slight movement, he felt as if his bones were about to scatter. Besides his subordinates, another person was lying on the ground next to Tom. It was Tyler Winslet. When he saw Dario and Jade, he was shocked. But then he felt nothing but hatred. It was him again. He, Tyler Winslet, had actually fallen into the hands of the same man twice. Damn it, just who was he? Tom, who was begging for mercy, didn't even touch Dario's pants. He was dragged away by Lucas. Dario didn't care about them at all. All he wanted to do now was take Jade away. Dario drove as fast as he could and called his private doctor. The moment Dario put Jade down on the bed, Jade, who had lost consciousness due to the drug, hugged Dario and even kissed him.
Jade, calm down.
If Jade was awake, Dario would have pushed her down without hesitation, but this was not the time. He looked at her blurry and charming eyes and resisted his desire. He laid her down and went to the toilet to get an ice towel to wipe her, but Jade threw the towel on the ground.
Mr. Foster, I feel so bad. Help me, okay?
Jade took off his clothes in a daze and kissed Dario's body. She just wanted to feel comfortable. It was as if her body was covered in ants, making her feel extremely miserable. Jade pulled Dario's familiar and warm hands over her body. It was as if this was the only way she could feel more comfortable. However, this wasn't enough. It was far from enough. She wanted more.
Jade, wait a moment. You'll feel better soon. The doctor will be here right away.
Dario kept his cool and went on wiping Jade's body with a cold towel.
I don't want the doctor. I only want Mr. Foster,
Jade said coquettishly. She looked very attractive. Any normal man wouldn't be able to resist her.
No, Jade, endure it a little more.
Dario tried his best to comfort Jade, who had lost consciousness. Episode 107. Who kidnapped her?
Mr. Foster, don't you want me?
Jade raised her sad almond eyes. Her pitiful eyes made Dario's heart ache and made him want to give her the whole world.
Yes.
Dario pinched her delicate chin and couldn't help kissing her hot lips. As his lips touched hers, Jade couldn't wait to entangle her tongue with his.
Mr. Foster, as long as it's what you want, I'm willing to give it to you,
Jade said vaguely. It was as if she wanted to throw everything away and kiss him deeply. Dario thought that Jade was babbling nonsense because of the effects of the drug, but what she said came from her heart. She would rather give herself to Dario, who brought her warmth, than to a scumbag like Bruce. They kissed very intensely, and Jade was even more passionate than Dario. She was like a ball of fire, and her eyes were full of charm. Every inch of her skin was full of temptations. She even took the initiative to reach under and touch him. Although her movements were very clumsy, Dario reacted quickly. Just when Dario was about to lose control of himself, he suddenly grabbed the cold towel and applied it to his forehead. He hurriedly pushed her body away.
Damn it! Why isn't Tony here yet? Does he want to die?
Dario rushed out as fast as he could. He couldn't stay in the same room with Jade like this. Fortunately, the doctor was there in the next second. If he had taken any longer, he wouldn't have seen the sun the next day. In the end, Tony gave Jade an injection to resist the effects of the drug, as well as some medicine to help her feel better. Slowly, the effects of the drug dissipated. She was so exhausted that she couldn't stay awake anymore, so she closed her eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Outside the entertainment city, how could David Swan, who had wanted to join in the fun, miss out? Unfortunately, he came too late. Jade had already been taken away by Dario, and the rest of the people had been crippled by Lucas.
What are you doing here?
Lucas looked at him indifferently.
I'm here to help you. Do you think I need it?
David Swan looked at the people on the ground behind him and pulled off Tom's clothes, leaving only his underpants. It wasn't that David wanted to protect his reputation. The fat on his body was so disgusting that David couldn't bear to take his underwear off.
Damn, fatty, I think you've had enough of living. Don't you know whose woman she is? How dare you take advantage of her?
Although David didn't have much fighting strength, he had the backing of Lucas, so he could scare people. He slapped Tom's fat body while questioning him. David was very happy.
You are Mr. Swan?
Tom looked at the man and thought he was the owner of the bar. His heart trembled because although the man in front of him looked like the owner of the bar, he was actually one of the young leaders from one of the 4 big families in Washington. It was said that opening a bar was only a hobby of his. Tom couldn't afford to offend such an important person. Actually, he had angered so many people that he couldn't afford to offend anyone anymore. He felt that he was going to die.
Don't talk nonsense with me. I'm asking you a question. What were you trying to do by capturing Jade? Speak.
David continued to pat the man's fat body, but then he felt disgusted and switched to patting his head. In the end, he found that the round, bald head was even more disgusting.
Mr. Swan, it really wasn't me. What happened here has nothing to do with me, and I didn't know who she was. If I had known, no matter how brave I am, I wouldn't have dared to touch her. It's that kid. It was Tyler Winslet who caught her. He said he wanted to show his piety towards me.
Tom immediately pointed at Tyler Winslet. But David wasn't fooled by him. Instead of believing him, he kicked his fat face. "Stop pretending. Last time you were chased out of my bar, don't you know, Miss Winslet? Even if you didn't know at the beginning, you must have known later. Tell me the truth." As he spoke, he took out an exquisite knife, as if he was going to cut his flesh. Lucas looked at him indifferently, his face full of disdain. "I didn't expect you to have such a hobby." "Shut up. Mr. Foster knows that you can only fight and not talk, so he specially asked me, an expert, to come over." He fiddled with his hair at the corner of his forehead and pressed the knife against Tom's face. "Really, Mr. Swan, I didn't know. After I recognized Miss Winslet, I planned to let her go, but I didn't expect that Mr. Stevens would also want to join in. It was Mr. Stevens who took a fancy to that woman. Mr. Stevens was the one who treated her that way." Tom put all the blame on Bruce. "You mean Bruce Stevens from the Stevens Group?" David asked coldly as he narrowed his eyes. Yes, it was him." Tom nodded his head desperately. David didn't believe what the old man said, but he had a general idea of what had happened. He went up to Tyler Winslet and looked at him in disbelief. "Did you tie Miss Winslet up to give her that dam?" So what? It's none of your business. I lack money to spend, so I gave that woman away. Anyway, that woman is cheap. Any man can have her," Tyler said with disdain. He didn't know what had happened recently. His parents suddenly stopped giving him money, which made him seek other sources of money. He knew that Tom liked to flirt with women, and he thought of the time when Jade humiliated him. He went and tied her up directly. "Why are you talking like this? You are Miss Winslet's cousin. How sad." David slapped him so hard that he saw stars. Tyler wanted to fight back, but when he saw Lucas's terrifying eyes, he didn't dare to move. "Hit me again if you have the guts." Tyler stared at them angrily. "Do you want me to hit you again? Let me tell you, beating you up is no big deal. You have offended, Mr. Foster. Do you think you'll have a happy life from now on? You are so pitiful. I can already imagine what your next life will be like. I advise you to prepare your coffin well." David spat twice and looked at them with pity. Despite his playful words, his eyes were especially serious and fierce. What he said made Tom and Tyler feel their hearts go cold, as if something bad were about to happen. "What nonsense are you talking to them about?" Suddenly, Lucas kicked Tyler hard, as if he hadn't been hit enough. Tyler's body flew through the air. When he landed on the ground, he screamed and then fainted. David had never seen him in such rough shape. Maybe it was because he heard what Tyler said and knew that Jade would come here. He wanted to vent his anger for her. "Wow, this is too cruel. I'm so scared." David hid at the side and pretended to be frightened. Tom was terrified to the point of breaking out in a cold sweat. He knelt down and didn't dare to move. They soon heard the siren of a police car. The first police officers who came in were just there to check on things, but these officers came to arrest people. Episode 108. Who changed my clothes? "The police have arrived. Let's get out of here. You've crippled someone. That's a serious crime." David nervously pulled Lucas up. Tom was happy at that moment. He thought that someone must have called the police because they couldn't stand it anymore. But Lucas just calmly stood where he was and watched as the police took away all the people who were lying on the floor. One of the police officers walked up to Lucas's side with a smile. They seemed to be very familiar with each other. This made Tom speechless. Most importantly, the media reporters had come as well. He was only wearing red underpants and his face was swollen. "Lucas, you really are amazing. You gave me a big one. You are indeed my good friend. I'll treat you to a meal when I get promoted." A police officer about the same age as Lucas patted his shoulder excitedly. Lucas avoided him calmly and only said 2 words. "No need." He then left coldly. Washington was destined to have a restless night. In that one night, Washington's police swept through all the big and small entertainment companies. Even the ones with strong backers were not spared. They captured a lot of people, especially from the Royal Entertainment Company. It was very lively. Even the major media had come. Tyler, Tom, Bruce. They had all hailed from respectable families besides a few others. Bruce was taken away when he was unconscious. When he woke up, he couldn't believe what was happening. He felt that they must have mistaken him for someone else, or that they didn't know who he was. He'd been messing around for a long time, but this time the police didn't intend to let him go. They made it very clear that the person they wanted to arrest was Bruce. This was Bruce's first time in prison. He simply couldn't believe it.
Damn you damn police officer. Do you want to die? How dare you arrest me? Call your manager over.
Bruce kicked the door angrily. He felt a sharp pain and pulled his foot back. He couldn't believe that these people had dared to touch the Stevens family. They were seeking death. The prison guards merely ignored him and let him shout alone. The next day, Jade was woken by a nightmare. She was still in shock when she woke up. Dario, who was resting beside her bed, immediately opened his eyes and patted her chest. He used a gentle tone to coax her. "Don't be afraid, it's okay, Jade." Jade slowly opened her eyes when she heard that familiar yet calm voice. She saw Dario's deep and worried eyes. Then she discovered that she was lying on her bed. She was already at home. Although her mind was very blurry the night before, she tried her best to recall what had happened. He had appeared again. It was clearly Dario who had saved her. As she thought back to the night before, Jade's sad and beautiful eyes filled with tears. She threw herself into Dario's arms and began to cry softly. She could finally let out all her tears over what she had endured that night. "Mr. Foster, it's really you. I'm so useless. I need you to save me every time." Jade felt very guilty. Ever since she met him, she seemed to have brought him nothing but trouble. Every time she found herself in trouble, she needed him to save her. She couldn't stand it anymore. "Be good, don't cry. Nothing like that will ever happen to you again." Dario gently kissed away the tears at the corner of her eyes. He extended his wide palm and rested it against her slightly swollen cheek. His eyes darkened and filled with hostility and danger. Jade heard his words and could tell that they were filled with deep meaning, and her heart shook with anxiety. But then she felt infinite warmth. "Mr. Foster, why are you so good to me?" Her heart was beginning to waver. Actually, her whole body had already started to waver. "Little fool, you're my wife. If not you, who else should I be good to? You didn't eat anything yesterday. Are you hungry?" Dario touched her soft hair and couldn't help kissing her forehead. Jade greedily hid in his arms and smelled the familiar scent of his body. She found that she could only sleep peacefully when she smelled his scent. "I'm not hungry, Mr. Foster. How did you know where I was yesterday?" Jade looked up at him with a trace of doubt in her eyes. Why did he always know where she was? Did he have some kind of special ability? When she thought of what had happened the night before, hatred suddenly appeared in her clear eyes. First, Tom insulted her, and then Bruce did too. To her, it was like a nightmare. Until that moment, she couldn't believe that it was true. If Dario had not suddenly appeared, she would have been defiled by Bruce. She was drugged and had no strength to resist. She would have wanted to die from embarrassment. But he saved her again. Jade clenched her fists tightly. She hated those who bullied her. Why? Why did they do that to her? Bruce had lied to her for 5 years. Wasn't that enough? Why did he want to kill her? Dario could feel her trembling. He hugged her even tighter and lowered his head to kiss her injured lips. It was as if he were licking her wound. He was so tender that Jade didn't push him away as usual. Instead, she just closed her eyes and allowed him to kiss her lips. Although she felt some pain when her wound was touched, she felt incomparably sweet. Dario didn't stay for long. He only kissed her wound. Then, he extended his thumb and carefully stroked the edge of the wound. "No matter what happens next time, you aren't allowed to hurt yourself. Do you understand? Also, those who hurt you won't have a good end." Dario's sharp eyes became gentle as he quietly looked at her. "Thank you, Mr. Foster. Meeting you was the luckiest thing in my life." Jade smiled and then lowered her head in embarrassment. She found that her clothes had been changed. Even her sanitary pad had been changed. She doubtfully reached out her hand and touched her underwear under the blanket. Since she didn't feel uncomfortable, she was sure that it had been changed. Her face immediately turned red. She lowered her head and was instantly at a loss. "What's wrong?" Dario thought she must not be feeling well when he saw her expression. He looked very anxious. Jade lowered her head and asked in a low voice, "Mr. Foster, did you change my clothes?" "What do you think?" Dario asked. She didn't need him to tell her the answer. It was even harder for her to ask the next question. "Then, did you help me change my—" Jade's face instantly turned red to her ears. What was she about to say next was simply indescribable. Episode 109. Big News. Jade could not control but asked, "What? Did you change that for me?" She raised her head slightly and looked at him in disbelief. "You mean your pad?" Dario asked in a normal tone as he raised his eyebrows. It was as if he was talking about the weather that day. Jade didn't expect him to be so direct. Her face instantly turned red, and she felt very embarrassed. Before Jade could speak, he took the initiative to say, "Yes, I changed your pad." When Dario said this very calmly, Jade almost broke down. She covered her face, which was full of shame. "Mr. Foster, how could you change that for me? Oh my God, I'm too shy for that." "What are you shy about? We're husband and wife, so you don't have to be shy. Besides, you were unconscious last night. If I didn't help you change, who else would have? Don't you know that women need to change their pads a lot? Otherwise, it's very easy to get diseases." Dario revealed a wicked smile as he shared some common knowledge with his wife. He gently pulled Jade's hands away from her face. He thought that she was very cute at that moment. Dario was reaching out his hand to press the back of her head, but just as he went to kiss her, the door suddenly opened. David rushed in excitedly with a bouquet of lilies in his hand. "Hello, Miss Winslet. I'm David, the favourite of many people. I'm here to see you. Are you feeling better?" David's voice became softer and softer as he spoke. He took a step back because he could feel Dario's anger. Dario's face was like an iceberg. David swallowed nervously and looked at him awkwardly. "I don't think I came at the right time. You guys can continue." Dario glanced at him coldly and asked in a suffocating tone, "Is Tony here? Ask him to come in." "I'm here." Tony immediately appeared in the room. At the same time, he gave David a sympathetic look. He didn't dare to come in so easily that day because of how awkward it was when he came in the day before. They were about to have sex. "Check her body and see if there are any problems. If there are any side effects of your treatment, you will face terrible consequences," Dario said coldly. Tom wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He was only a few minutes late. Did Dario have to scare him like that? "I'll check right away." She didn't expect people to suddenly come in while she felt so shy. Jade's face was bright red. She lowered her head and looked toward the door at David. With a trace of gratitude, she slowly said, "I am fine. Mr. Swan, thank you for the flowers." David placed the flowers beside Jade's bed, and their fresh smell filled the room. Then he turned around and looked at Dario with a serious expression. His eyes were very solemn. He pursed his lips and whispered to him, "Mr. Foster, I have something to tell you. Come out for a moment." Dario nodded and then turned to look into Jade's eyes. When she looked back into his eyes, she felt that they were deeper and more unfathomable than before. She tried to understand the emotions in his eyes, but they were pitch black like lake water, and she couldn't see through them no matter how hard she tried. And if she looked at them for too long, it seemed that she would fall into them and wouldn't be able to escape. His eyes must have been filled with magic. "You just lie here, okay?" Dario gently touched her head. Then he went to the kitchen to get her porridge and set it down at her bedside. At that moment, only Jade and Tony were left in the room. When he came the night before, she was already unconscious, so she didn't know who he was. "Hello, Mr. Tony?" Jade greeted him carefully. Tony was a doctor, but he didn't look like a doctor at all. He was dressed very casually. He smiled. "Miss Winslet, there's no need to be so polite. Just call me by my name. I'm Mr. Foster's private doctor, so I've never treated anyone other than him. You are the first." As he spoke, he hinted at her position in Dario's heart. Jade nodded slightly and said, "Hello, Tony. Do you feel any discomfort in your body?" Jade shook her head, carefully looked at him and said, "I'm fine. Tony, were you here yesterday? Do you know who kidnapped me? That's all I want to know now." Tony didn't know what to say. Looking at the delicate girl in front of him, he notices a hint of shrewdness in her eyes. If she could ask that question so directly, she wouldn't be simple. Jade knew that Dario had very few friends and few people close to him. Tony must be close to him if he can just walk into his house. She thought that they must not just have a doctor and patient relationship. So she had a feeling that he would know what had happened to her. Sure enough, after hearing her question, Tony's expression changed. Jade saw concealment in his eyes. "Actually, I don't know much about it, and Mr. Foster doesn't seem to want you to know either. I can only say that it has something to do with your family." Tony carefully watched her expression as he spoke. He was afraid that she wouldn't be able to accept it. After all, any normal person would collapse after learning about it. But Jade was much stronger than he had imagined. He thought that she'd be shocked and wouldn't believe his words, and he worried that she might suspect that he was lying. But Jade only revealed a trace of a cold smile. Her eyes darkened as if she had expected his answer. In her eyes looked pained, as if she had been betrayed. Tyler Winslet, Jade said as she curled the corner of her lips. She should have guessed it long ago. Besides the Stevens family, only the Winslet family hated her to the core.
You know?
Tony looked at her in surprise. I don't know for sure, I guessed it, Jade said faintly. But seeing his reaction, she felt that she hadn't guessed wrong.
Miss Winslet, don't be too sad. At least Mr. Foster is sincere to you. I've been by his side for many years. I've never seen him so angry before. Do you know what? He even sealed off an entire area of Washington for you. Those police officers searched for the entire night and then sent people from the Winslet family and Stevens family to prison. And it was all for you.
Tony said a lot of things and Jade listened to him. She could almost stuff an egg into her mouth. Tony, what did you say in prison? What part of the city? Is what you said true? It can't be. It's too hard to imagine. Jade had long guessed that Dario wasn't an ordinary person, but she didn't expect that he had so much power. No ordinary person can do things like that. Episode 110. Dario told Evelyn. How did Dario Foster have so much power? Even the mayor of Washington wouldn't be able to get Bruce Stevens and Tyler Winslet arrested like that.
You don't believe me? You can watch the news and see. Mr. Foster told me not to say anything. Don't tell him I told you.
Tony had come a few minutes late yesterday to check on Jade, and Dario Foster's face had been so fierce that he looked like he was going to eat someone. Tony felt a chill in his heart, then and now. Jade didn't believe it, but Tony took out his phone and let her see the headlines that popped up today. She was stunned. Is this all because of Mr. Foster? She pointed at the familiar people on the screen, trembling. Tony nodded.
Yes, all of it. Although, actually, I think David Swan was responsible for the naked fat guy. Mr. Foster was really scary yesterday, to be honest. I've never seen him so angry because of a woman.
Jade pressed her hand against her breastbone. Her heart was beating very fast. Tony? The woman you're talking about, is it me? Tony's eyes widened in disbelief.
How many Jade Winslets can there be?
Did she really not understand? Jade didn't say anything else. It was as if a warm current was slowly spreading outward from her heart to every corner of her body, dispersing her sadness. So he did have feelings for her, strong ones, and she thought he'd had for another woman. She felt foolish. Tony took out a black bag and handed it to her.
Lucas asked me to give this back to you. He said he took it from your cousin, Tyler. Did Mr. Foster give you the phone inside?
Jade clutched the bag like a priceless treasure for a moment before opening it. Her phone was there. Only then did she heave a sigh of relief. Thank you. This is Mr. Foster's first gift to me. I'm so lucky I didn't lose it. In her joy at finding the phone, she didn't notice Tony's grave expression, as though losing her phone would be an utter catastrophe. Yesterday, when Tyler was tying Jade up, he wanted to take her money and phone, especially after finding out the phone was very valuable. If not for Bruce's sudden appearance, which angered the fat man named Tom Bergstrom and made Tyler have to come out to apologize, Tyler wouldn't have gone to that bar. He would have taken the money and been long gone. It was because of that phone that Dario Foster became suspicious. His call to Jade went straight to voicemail. Next, he called the hospital, only to be told that she had left. He calculated the time. If she had really left, she would have gotten home already. In the end, Dario checked the surveillance footage of the hospital entrance. He saw Jade get kidnapped and used her phone to locate her. But the person he found was Tyler Winslet. Dario interrogated Tyler, who confessed that he'd sold Jade. Luckily, Dario got there in time, before Tyler made a worse mistake. Still relieved that nothing had happened to her first gift from Dario, Jade had a sudden thought. Tony, how is Mr. Foster so powerful? Yesterday he found me so fast. How did he even guess something had happened to me? Tony stole a glance at the phone.
I don't know either,
he said awkwardly. Jade followed his glance, wondering. No matter how powerful Dario Foster was, surely he couldn't find out which room she was in, right? Unless... Tony, Jade exclaimed, does this phone have software that can track its location? Tony was afraid he would say something wrong, so he changed the subject. You had a rough night, and you're probably still feeling the effects of that wine they drugged. I'll prescribe some medicine to help you recover. Take care of yourself. He left without waiting for Jade to say goodbye. On the balcony of the apartment, David Swan fixed Dario with a stern expression. Dario, you didn't go to Evelyn's performance yesterday. She's mad and Monica is pissed. Dario said lightly, does it have anything to do with me? Evelyn has liked you since we were growing up. There was a trace of jealousy in David's voice. If you're not into her, you have to tell her. With a slight grimace, Dario looked at David for a long time. Then he said, I know. He took out his phone and dialed. When Evelyn received the call, she freaked out. Oh my God, Dario actually called me. What should I do? What should I say? Evelyn happily hugged the phone to her chest. Did Dario feel guilty about missing her performance? Was he going to apologize? She put on a haughty expression and regarded the ringing phone. I knew you couldn't stay away. You've been a naughty boy, but because you took the initiative to call me, I guess I can forgive you. She answered the phone. On the other end, a cold voice said, I'm already married. Evelyn's heart lurched. What? Dario, what are you talking about? She must have misheard him. I love my wife very much. That's all. He hung up the phone. Dario looked at David indifferently. Are you satisfied? What? David was stunned. This was the first time he'd heard Dario say the word love. He knew his friend was swift and decisive, but not like this. Dario's expression was unreadable. He thought his words were obvious enough. David looked at Dario in disbelief. Dario, you haven't actually fallen in love with her, have you? David had always thought Dario would never fall in love. Episode 111. Things heat up. Evelyn was sobbing. Was this a bad dream? Had Dario Foster really called to tell her he was married? Ev, what's wrong? Monica went to her sister and saw tears pouring down her cheeks. Dario, he said he was already married. Married? No, Monica exclaimed. He said he loved her. Evelyn threw herself into Monica's arms and cried like she had lost the whole world. Monica, what do I do? I can't live without him. Monica stroked her hair. Shh, it's okay. You just need some help from your big sis. Her eyes were full of hatred. Dario, you absolute arsehole. Why did you hurt two women who love you so much? Evelyn shook with sobs against her sister's body. Who is he married to? Monica demanded. She had to know the name of the bitch who stole Dario. In the apartment, David Swan exchanged a few words with Jade and Dario, then left. Tony set the prescription on the table and slipped out silently. He was worried that he would be punished for disturbing them. Jade ate her breakfast, calmer now. She surveyed the room and was filled with a familiar feeling that soothed her. Home. The apartment felt like home. Although she'd only stayed here a few days, her heart knew she belonged here. After Dario finished washing the dishes, he headed toward his bedroom, but when he saw Jade deep in thought, he could not help but poke her nose. Earth to Jade! Jade looked at him, blinking. She remembered what she'd seen on the news and said hesitatingly, Mr. Foster, I want to ask you something. Go ahead. I heard those clubs were forced to close down last night. Did you have something to do with that? Dario did not answer. He sat down next to her and hugged her hard, forcing her to lean against his body. He laid a gentle hand on her stomach and stroked her soft hair with his other hand. Then he said, Take a guess. Jade grabbed his hand. Mr. Foster, you can't shut down the clubs. Think of their poor owners. For a moment, Dario was speechless. This little idiot actually pitied those people after what she'd gone through. He narrowed his eyes and leaned his head close to Jade's ear. So close he could smell the warm sweetness of her hair. Why? Don't you think those places should be shut down? Those are places that harm people. Jade considered this. There were all kinds of people in the entertainment district and a lot going on. She'd been hurt twice there. First, because of that rich jerk Victor Carson, and then yesterday. Mr. Foster, you're right, she said cautiously. But closing so many businesses all of a sudden is going to affect a lot of people. It's not... Her words got cut off when Dario kissed her. He pulled back with a smile in his eyes. He said gently, "Don't worry. I just got the police to check the businesses, not shut them down forever. When the police say they're fine, they'll open back up." His voice and face turned icy. All but that club. She didn't want Dario to cause trouble because of her. At the same time, she was grateful. If it weren't for him, where would she be right now? Still, she had to know more. "Mr. Foster, how did you make the police check the entertainment district? How powerful are—" Before Jade could finish, Dario shifted to lie on top of her and covered her mouth with his. He kissed her thoroughly, as if stopping her from asking questions. He pressed close to her body. She felt more relaxed than usual against him and warmer. For once, Jade did not resist. She closed her eyes to enjoy his gentle kisses. When his tongue entered her mouth, she met it with hers. Jade's astonishing action filled Dario with excitement. She never acted this way, except last night when she was drugged. Just when both of them were thoroughly engrossed, Dario suddenly stopped. Jade looked at him in surprise. Her heart was pounding. She wanted more. His kiss was mesmerizing. She felt drugged again in a wonderful way. She needed him. In a low, husky voice, Jade said only, "Mr. Foster." Dario was on fire. He had to take a minute to think clearly again. Then he tousled Jade's hair affectionately. "You rascal, I know what you're thinking. You think I won't have sex with you during your period, so you can do whatever you want." Episode 112. Big Trouble for Bruce. "Mr. Foster, is that what you think of me?" Jade glared at him. Whether it was true or not, Dario knew he could not continue. He stared at her with a burning gaze. After what felt like a long time, he got up from her body. "I'll get you some hot water to soak your feet. You should get some rest. But if you tease me like this in a few days, you know the consequences," Dario said, his voice full of meaning. Jade's heart skipped a beat. When her period was over, she wouldn't be able to play around with him anymore. She felt like a little sheep sitting on the lap of the big, bad wolf. Dario poured a basin of hot water for her to soak her feet. Jade's body had been treated very badly yesterday, and she needed to take good care of herself to recover. Jade shyly looked at the handsome man squatting before her. He dipped a washcloth into the water and began to carefully wash her feet. Her heart flooded with warmth. This was the second time he'd washed her feet. No one had ever been so good to her. "Mr. Foster, how are you so wonderful? I am slowly losing control of my heart. Can I fall in love with you?" Outside the Washington Public Security Bureau, many reporters were gathered. Bruce Stevens' arrest had caused quite a stir. Bruce's father, the CEO of Stevens Group, was also affected. All the shareholders were dissatisfied with him. Shares of Stevens Group had fallen by 20%. Several shareholders wanted to withdraw their funds. The Winslet family was well known and was also getting media attention. Mr. Stevens did not want to care about his useless son, but the situation forced him to. All he could do was go to bail out Bruce early in the morning. Although Bruce was out of jail, his reputation was shot. Now everyone in Washington knew that the son of the Stevens family had attempted to rape a woman. There was also Tyler Winslet, who had kidnapped an innocent girl and given her to a pervert for money. The Winslet family's reputation was in trouble too. John Winslet came to the police station to bail out his only son. However, Tyler's crime was too serious, and everything that had happened began with him. He and Tom Bergstrom were not bailed out and were still in jail. John Winslet had even used his family connections in the police station, but it was still useless. This made him furious. Because of this incident, the Winslet family's reputation had once again been destroyed. Last time, it had been Suzanne that caused a huge commotion. The media had been asking John's wife every day about her cheating, with terrible results for the company. Now when the hubbub was finally settling down, this happened. His wife had had an affair, and now his son had sold a girl. What glorious fame for the Winslet family. Suzanne Winslet had stopped leaving the house. She was obsessed with finding out who was targeting the Winslet family and her son, who wanted to destroy their reputation. However, so far, her money couldn't find any clues at all.
Mr. Stevens, rumor has it that your son, Bruce, was arrested because he attempted to rape a woman. Is this true? Bruce, I heard that you drugged that girl. Can you explain? Mr. Stevens, what do you think will happen to the group? Your company's shares have fallen. How do you plan to address this? Bruce, if you have no comment, does that mean you don't deny these allegations? Bruce grabbed the nearest camera and smashed it against the pavement. Fuck off. Which newspaper are you from? Another reporter tried to take a picture, and he smashed her camera too. Mr. Stevens' bodyguards circled both him and Bruce, cutting them off from the reporters and moving towards the car. Bruce's father was still expressionless. He didn't say a word until they reached the car. Then he asked coldly, "Wasn't this embarrassing enough already?" He pushed his son into the car. They sat side by side in the back seat. Bruce's father turned to him with a stern expression. "Bruce, what are you doing?" he demanded. "You can play with women if you want. I certainly don't care, but this is unacceptable. Do you know what this will do to my company?" Bruce just glared at him coldly. After a moment, Mr. Stevens looked away. Bruce leaned back in his seat, exhausted. He didn't sleep last night. When had Bruce Stevens, the golden boy, ever suffered such humiliation? He had actually been beaten by that man until he could barely move. Bruce hadn't gotten a good look at the man's face, but he was pretty sure he knew who it was. Dario Foster. Again. Damn that Dario Foster straight to hell. He was going to pay for this. Bruce drew back his fist and punched right through the car window. His knuckles blazed with pain and his eyes watered, but he didn't make a sound. Mr. Stevens didn't say anything either, just looked at Bruce and the window. He'd never seen Bruce like this. He had to investigate what had happened last night. Who was this man who dared to make enemies of the Stevens family and the Winslet family at the same time? In Dario's apartment, Jade thought she never felt so relaxed. After Dario washed her feet, he gently patted them dry with a soft towel. He put on socks for her. Although Jade was still a little embarrassed, she couldn't resist. Dario had taken off his suit jacket to wash her feet. Jade stole a glance and saw that the top buttons of his shirt were open, exposing his muscled chest. Jade's mouth went dry with lust. She didn't see how such a busy person could have time to maintain a perfect body. He really was unbelievable. Episode 113. Mr. Foster, a super nurse. After Dario helped Jade put on her socks, he raised his head and looked at her. He found that she was staring at him. He couldn't help but smile. Jade immediately turned her head away. "You can look if you want. It's not like I don't want you to look." Dario's sleeves were rolled up, revealing strong forearms with a light dusting of hair. They drew her gaze back to them. So manly, so sexy. She looked away again. "I didn't look at you." She crawled onto the bed to get away from him, but this plan didn't work. Dario lay down next to her and put his lips by her ear. His warm breath made her shiver. He said shyly, "I think you like the way I take off my clothes." An image of Dario's naked body popped into Jade's head, all strong biceps and well-defined abs and muscled thighs, and other parts too. Jade could feel herself blushing. Dario's phone rang. She hid her relief as he climbed off the bed and left the room. Lying on Dario's bed, trying not to picture his muscles, Jade had a sudden thought. She's almost forgotten that filming for Decadent Ladies started tomorrow. The director had asked her to prepare. She hadn't prepared for anything. Jade hurriedly got out of bed and began stuffing her things into a bag. Dario came back in, took the bag, and held it away from her. "What are you doing?" Jade said frantically. "The shoot starts tomorrow." Dario calmly began putting her things back in the wardrobe. He said in a commanding tone, "You need to rest at home for a few more days. You're not going anywhere. You can join the filming when you're recovered, understand?" "But they're starting tomorrow. I could lose this job." She was just a newcomer, with a rare opportunity to play the lead role. Dario closed the wardrobe. "Don't worry." Jade didn't understand, but she didn't say anything more. She didn't want him to get angry. She decided to try to talk to him later. A few minutes later, she was surprised to get a phone call from her talent agency. Her manager, Caroline, didn't even say hello before telling Jade that the Decadent Lady shoot was delayed by a few days, and that Caroline would be in touch to let her know the exact start date.
Caroline commanded Jade to take good care of herself, especially the injuries on her face. Then she hung up. Jade hadn't had a chance to say a single word. Jade looked at the phone screen blankly. Had Dario known about the delay on the shoot? Had he somehow arranged the delay? Jade thought of several things. She thought of the time she was rushing out in a hurry, and Dario told her she could go a little later. Right away, she got a text from Caroline setting a later meeting time. Also, she thought she'd missed her chance to audition for Decadent Lady, but Dario insisted that she go back. Without him, she wouldn't have gone back, and she wouldn't be the female lead of Decadent Lady. So many coincidences. She wondered once again, who was Dario Foster really? Why was he so powerful? The more she thought about it, the more she felt that something strange was going on. She seemed to have married someone extraordinary. Dario tapped her nose, ending her train of thought. Why are you staring at me all the time? I was just wondering why you were so powerful. Jade studied his handsome face. She really didn't know much about him. Dario leaned close to her ear and murmured, "Can I show you how powerful I really am?" "What do you mean?" Jade asked. Then she realized and blushed. Dario's expression became serious. He hugged her and said softly, "It doesn't matter who I am. All that matters is that I'm your husband and you're my wife." His wife. The words tasted as sweet as honey. "Just lie down and relax. I'll go to study to get some work done." Dario gently stroked her hair. He started to stand up, but Jade held onto his sleeve. "You don't want me to go? You want me to stay here with you?" Dario found himself smiling. Jade reluctantly let go of him. "No, you should go ahead." She lowered her head guiltily. She didn't want to cause him trouble for no reason, and he had to work. "I know you miss me, but I really do have something important to take care of today. I'll come with you as soon as I can." Dario didn't want to leave either, but he had delayed a lot of things because of her yesterday. If he didn't get caught up, it would affect his business. Jade smiled mischievously. "Can you guess what I'm thinking?" "For this," Dario said, "I will need to consult your butt." He smacked her lightly on the butt and she squealed. The smile on his face became even wider. "As I suspected. Such dirty thoughts." He started walking towards the door, then turned back. "If you're bored, you can study the script, but I'm warning you. You have to rest and stay warm. Wear slippers whenever you're out of bed, and you're not leaving this apartment. Understand?" Jade covered her ears. "I know, you're so annoying. Hurry up and get to work." When he finally left, the bedroom felt huge and cold. She missed him already. The first thing Dario did after he left was to take a punishingly cold shower. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to concentrate on his work. Jade was getting more confident and more flirtatious, and it was driving him wild. What was he going to do about her? For the next few days, Jade felt like a captive princess. She stayed in the apartment and rested. Dario brought whatever she wanted to eat and even prepared it for her. She had no responsibilities. Jade realized her clothes felt a little tighter, as if she'd gained a couple of pounds. If she was still going to star in Decadent Lady, she needed to be careful about her weight. She told Dario that she was becoming a vegetarian. Dario said that was fine, but he kept cooking meat for her, and Jade kept eating it, sometimes with tears in her eyes. The food Dario cooked was just too delicious to resist. What made her the most embarrassed was that Dario even washed her underwear for her. She tried to do it herself, but he stopped her. He told her that scrubbing underwear in cold water was too strenuous for her right now. Jade saw him scrubbing at a bloodstain with intense concentration, and she blushed so hard she thought her face might combust. Episode 114, A Failed Seduction. On the fourth day, Caroline called to tell Jade to be ready to leave at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. The production was filming far away, so the actors would be staying there. At the thought of staying on set for a long time, Jade's heart hurt. Tonight was the last night she would be staying here. She was almost fully recovered from the attack, and her period was ending. The medicine Tony prescribed even helped her cramps. Today was the same as usual. Dario cooked dinner, washed the dishes, and went to the study. Jade was feeling restless and nervous, unable to concentrate on learning her lines. She had no idea what she was going to do tomorrow, when she would be expected to know her part. When she finally gave up on the script, she decided to take a bath and go to sleep. She looked at her pajamas in the wardrobe and remembered what her grandmother's nurse had told her about men, that they're ruled by lust, that if their wives don't satisfy them, they'll look for other women. Nurse Mason had told her to guard her man well, or else. The nurse's voice lingered in Jade's mind as she flipped through the pajamas on the hangers. Was it really like this? She could tell that Dario had been holding back from her. At night, she could feel his heat. A couple of times, she woke up to find Dario out of bed and hear the bathtub running. When he came back to bed, she pretended to be asleep. Jade was beginning to think Nurse Mason was right. They had a marriage certificate but no sex life. What man could stand this? She bit her lower lip. Her hand trembled slightly as she chose a black nightgown. She'd never worn this nightgown before. It was the sexiest one she owned, short and sheer, trimmed with lace. It was meant to be seen by another person. She took the nightgown and a pair of lacy black underwear into the bathroom and filled the tub. As she soaked in the water, she felt nervous. She wondered if Dario would suddenly come back. Wouldn't that be awkward? When she'd been in the bath for half an hour and he still wasn't back, Jade felt a trace of relief and a trace of disappointment. She dried off and got dressed in the black nightgown. Jade caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror and almost didn't recognize herself. Her cheeks were pink and her body looked ripe and smooth. The top of the nightgown barely held in her breasts and the hem didn't quite reach her thighs in the back. Her pale skin and a hint of the lacy underwear showed below, invitingly. Suddenly frightened, Jade hurried back to the bed. Her mind was racing. What if Dario didn't like the nightgown because it exposed too much? What if he thought she was acting slutty? Even scarier. What if he did like it? Clearly, wearing the black nightgown was a mistake. Jade lay on the bed and waited. After a while, she went to find Dario. Feeling shy, she didn't go into the study. Instead, she peered around the door. Dario was typing quickly on the computer. When he saw Jade peeking in like a kitten, he immediately stopped what he was doing. He turned around and examined her. Her face was rosy. She was adorable without makeup. Her expression was a little shy. "What's wrong? Why aren't you asleep yet?" It was almost midnight, so Dario was a little surprised. She usually slept very early. Jade stayed behind the door so he wouldn't see her body. She said carefully, "I'm just checking on you. If you finish your work, come and get some sleep." Dario nodded and said, "Okay." He turned his attention to the computer. Disappointed, Jade went back to the bedroom. She pouted and sat on the bed, grumbling to herself. Dario was so cold it was infuriating. What did she need to do to get him to look at her? She got up and angrily rifled through the pajamas in the wardrobe. She found a set that covered everything, neck to ankle, and took it off the hanger. She was going to throw herself away and he didn't even notice. Clearly, he didn't care about her at all. Jade pulled the black nightgown and lace panties off and tossed them on the floor, scowling. Then she heard a faint sound. There, in the doorway, was Dario. They stared at each other. Dario swept a glance over her body. His expression was calm, his eyes carrying a trace of surprise. No wonder she had come to find him. "You jerk! Why don't you make a sound when you walk?" Jade scrambled under the covers on the bed and started pulling on the pajamas. Dario took off his clothes and climbed onto the bed. He slid under the covers and put his arms around Jade, who was fully clothed now. He rubbed his beard stubble against her cheek. Jade squirmed and giggled. "It's so itchy." Despite the itching, she felt safe and comfortable. "Why are you panicking? I don't eat people. Besides, it's not like I haven't seen your body." God knows how many cold baths he took that day when he changed his clothes. Then Dario spotted the sexy pajamas crumpled on the floor. The corner of his mouth slightly curled up, as if he had discovered something interesting. His wife was getting better and better. Jade began carefully trying to wiggle out of his embrace. Dario hugged her tight and rolled her on top of him. "Where are you going? Weren't you waiting for me?" Jade laid her head on his warm, bare chest. Her heart was hammering. What would Dario do next? But she waited for a long time. Dario reached over to turn off the lamp, then gently kissed her forehead and said, "Go to sleep." He closed his eyes and his breathing slowed, but he still held her. Jade poked his cheek. There was no reaction. She sighed and looked at his sleeping face. He'd been taking care of her and doing housework and cooking during the day. That was why he had to work late into the night. He was probably exhausted. Jade's anger toward him was replaced with tenderness. "Good night," she said softly. She gently kissed him on the lips, leaned into his warm embrace, and fell asleep. Naturally, she did not see the corner of Dario's lips rise. Episode 115. Dario cared a lot. The next day, Jade slept until Dario woke her up at 7:30. When she got up, still half asleep, she found that Dario had packed her suitcase with clothes, underwear, pajamas, toiletries, and medicine more carefully than she would have packed it herself. She didn't know how Dario did it. He stayed up late and woke up early, ready to get things done. Possibly he was a god whose divine nature made sleep unnecessary. She stared blankly at the suitcase. The thought of leaving him in half an hour made her feel sad and empty. However, when she left the bathroom, Dario's expression was as cool as usual. Of course, he'd prepared a breakfast that looked and smelled delicious. "Mr. Foster," Jade mumbled through a mouthful of frittata. "I don't know how long I'll be gone. Promise me you'll take care of yourself, eat regular meals, and go to bed at a reasonable hour. Don't work too hard." "Anything else?" Dario asked indifferently. Jade thought about it carefully and then said, "Also, you can't talk to other girls or hug them. No hugging." She frowned slightly. She was still a little concerned about the woman she'd seen with him at the airport. "Oh." Dario's face didn't change. Jade was already sad, and she was getting angry too. She was going to leave. Why didn't he seem to care at all? Couldn't he show a little bit of sadness? Jade stuffed another forkful into her mouth, chewed and swallowed. She demanded, "Do you really want me to leave?" Dario raised his dark eyes to hers. A devilish smile spread across his face. Yes. He did want her to leave. Why was he like this? Then Dario continued, "After you leave, I can do less housework, wash less underwear, cook less." Jade glared at him. "If that's how you feel, I'll do it all myself next time. I'm not eating any more of your cooking." She dropped her fork and rose from the chair, but the smell of the frittata reached her and made her mouth water. She sat back down. Dario held back his laughter and continued to eat. When Jade finished her food, he dished more onto her plate immediately. "I didn't come back because I wanted to eat your breakfast, but it's wrong to waste food, you know? I was afraid you wouldn't be able to finish it all by yourself," Jade explained loftily between bites. Dario laughed out loud before he could stop himself. "Thank you, Captain Planet. Come, eat more." If the presidents who called him President Iceberg could see him now, they'd die of shock. Caroline called right at 8 to say she was waiting downstairs. Still chewing, Jade went to get her suitcase. She pulled it into the kitchen, where Dario had begun washing dishes. "Mr. Foster, I have to go." "Yes," he said, his attention fixed on the cutting board he was scrubbing. Jade scowled at him. He really did want her to leave. Well, she'd be gone soon, and better off without this cold man. But just as she was about to open the door to leave the apartment, she dropped her suitcase and ran back to the kitchen. With her hands on her hips, she snapped, "Mr. Foster." "Huh? Haven't you gone yet?" Dario dried a bowl and looked at her. "Is there anything else you want to say to me?" After Dario carefully placed the bowl in the cabinet, he looked Jade in the eyes. He couldn't help but smile at her. "Be careful on the way. Call me when you arrive." She'd wanted him to say something, but now that he had, she was even more disappointed. What was that? She just stood in the kitchen doorway. Dario softened. He went and put his arms around her. At first, she stiffened and did not hug him back, but then she melted into his embrace and clung to him. "Why aren't you going down yet? You're going to be late." Dario smoothed a lock of her hair into place. "Or do you want me to go with you?" Jade leaned against his strong chest and felt the hum of his voice. She smiled to herself. "No, I don't. I'm fine on my own. Besides, who brings their husband to work with them?" She was not that helpless. Of course she wanted to be with him, but they each had their own work. They had to be apart for now. Jade added hesitantly, "But will you come visit me if you have time?" Dario caressed her cheek with his big hand. His dark eyes were filled with deep affection. "Of course." "Really? That's great." She smiled widely, her body relaxing. Dario moved closer to her ear. And I won't hug other girls. I won't even talk to other girls because my wife is the jealous type. I'm not jealous. Jade acted offended, but she was happy. I'm leaving. Before she could turn to go, Dario pushed her against the wall of the kitchen. What are you doing? Jade asked, her heart beating faster. Dario lifted her chin with his hand. Did you forget something? What? He rubbed his thumb across her delicate lips. A good morning kiss? Jade hesitated for a moment, then darted in for a peck. But Dario wasn't that easily satisfied. He reached out and grabbed the back of her head. He pulled her to him until their lips met. At the pressure of his tongue, Jade opened her mouth as if she were waiting for him. Her tongue found his, then slid into his mouth. Dario was so turned on by this confidence. His eyes closed and his movements became more and more intense. He pressed her against the wall and kissed her as if he would never come up for air. The two of them were so close together they seemed like one person. Jade thought her legs might give out underneath her if it weren't for Dario's arms holding her up. Jade explored his mouth with her tongue and knotted her hands into the hair at the back of his head. She never wanted to stop. She wanted to give up everything and stay in this moment with this man. Then her phone rang. It was Caroline. Hello? Panted Jade. Caroline's annoyed voice said, Are you coming? Or do I live in your building lobby now? Sorry, said Jade. I'll be right down. She hung up the phone and pressed her face into Dario's chest. When she stepped back and reached for her suitcase, her eyes were wet. Dario looked at her sad face, and his heart ached. He tidied her hair and said softly, If you really don't want to go, then don't. It's up to you. Anyway, you don't need to earn money. You can stay here and just be Mrs. Foster. Episode 116. Some Old Friends. When she heard Dario call her Mrs. Foster, Jade's heart couldn't help but be moved. Her resolve began to waver. But she shook her head firmly and said, No, I can't just be a wife. I don't want to hang around waiting for you in a home where you paid for every single thing. I need to make my own money. Anyway, I like acting. Jade encouraged herself. She had to give it a try. For herself, her grandma, for Mr. Foster. Starring in Decadent Lady was a great opportunity for her to gain some independence and rise in her career. She didn't want to rely on others all the time. Now she knew that Dario must be even richer and more powerful than she'd imagined. The distance between them was too huge. She had to work hard so she could shorten it. When Dario proposed to her, he also promised that he would never stop her from doing what she liked. He liked her energy and ambition. Although he had a lot of power over her, he would never force her to do anything she didn't want to. He said, Let's go. I'll come down with you. Jade was afraid that Caroline would be angry if she saw him, so she hurriedly said, No need. I can go down by myself. But Dario had already picked up Jade's suitcase and walked out with it. Caroline had been waiting downstairs for 20 minutes. She was so annoyed that she was about to storm upstairs to find Jade. But when she saw Dario, her anger was replaced with surprise. She couldn't believe the cold man she remembered was holding a woman's hand so sweetly, with such gentleness in his expression. She had a sudden thought that perhaps Dario had two personalities. As soon as she saw Caroline, Jade dropped Dario's hand, embarrassed. She started to apologize, but Caroline ignored her. Caroline took the suitcase from Dario's hand and heaved it into the trunk of the waiting car. She slammed the trunk harder than necessary and said sharply, You are already quite late. Hurry up and get in the car. Yes. Jade didn't want to say anything else for fear of starting a conversation about Dario. She obediently got into the car. Dario was still standing on the curb. He leaned in and gently fastened her seatbelt, which made Jade feel incredibly embarrassed. While Caroline started the car, Jade kept gazing at Dario. When the car pulled away, she rolled down the window and stuck her hand out to wave at him. There were still tears in her eyes. Dario stood quietly on the curb until he could not see her. Only then did he go back upstairs. Caroline drove very fast, probably because they were late. She fiddled with the car radio and did not speak unless Jade asked her a direct question. It was a long drive, and they would probably arrive around noon. When they stopped to stretch their legs, Caroline, who was always trying to be calm and composed, finally asked the question that she'd been holding back all the way. "By the way, how do you know Mr. Foster? How long have you been married?" Jade knew she had to tell the truth. Caroline didn't have any villainous plans, and anyway, she was Jade's manager. She needed to know some details of Jade's life to do her job well. "Actually, we haven't been married long, less than 2 weeks. We met at a bar," Jade said carefully. As for how exactly they met, it was too embarrassing. She wasn't going to tell anyone, even if they beat her to death. Jade couldn't quite believe that she and Dario had only been together for 12 days. Their time together was so sweet and so full of potential that it felt more as if each day were a month. Caroline was a little surprised at Jade's answers, though she'd been expecting something unexpected based on the surprises she'd already experienced. She nodded at Jade but did not say anything. Thanks to Caroline's lead foot, they reached the filming location in another hour, just after noon. The crew was already set up and waiting for them. The place was rather remote, so the cast was staying in ordinary hotel rooms, nothing fancy. Jade's room was one of the nicest because she was playing a lead role. She didn't have to share with anyone. Because of how eventful things had been recently, Jade hadn't paid any attention to this project. As a result, she still didn't know who was playing the male lead and the supporting roles. Caroline had given Jade a few casual instructions before returning to Washington. Jade was a little nervous about staying alone in her room. After all, it was her first time on such an important shoot, and it was so far away from home. Just when she was starting to think about taking a nap, a girl's scream came from outside the door, followed by a lot of other noise. Curious, Jade opened the door and stuck her head out. There was a group of people outside, milling around chaotically. Jade peered at the group, trying to see what they were doing. Then she recognized two of the people. Her stomach and throat both clenched. Just as she was about to close the door and go back inside, she heard a familiar mocking voice. "Jade Winslet, what are you doing here?" The girl who spoke was Ashley. The one behind her was Taylor. They were the classmates who locked her in the dorm and almost made her miss her audition. Running into them here was a terrible surprise. Caroline had said that the male lead was staying the room across from her. Jade guessed that the group of people were hoping to catch a glimpse of him. To be cast in this production and to have so many fans waiting for him, he must be pretty hot. Jade found, however, that she didn't care. There was no way that he was more handsome than Dario, and his body couldn't be better either. "Jade, I heard you got the lead role, but there's no way that's possible," Ashley said with disdain. Taylor's eyes widened. "What? She got the part?" She and Ashley had also auditioned for the production and gotten small roles. Taylor had heard that the lead of Decadent Lady had been cast from their school. She hadn't believed it, but here was her classmate, claiming to have the part. Taylor was curious, though she wasn't going to ask. They had definitely locked Jade in the dorm so that she'd miss her audition. How did she get out in time? Ashley's expression was one of jealousy and disdain. "This is obviously a trick," she said. There was no way Jade Winslet deserved the lead role. Ashley's parents had bribed the director with a lot of money to get her a role in the production. As for Jade, she never wore anything that cost more than $20. Why should she get the lead part? What did she know about being a rich young woman? She, Ashley Cordero, was a much more decadent lady than Jade Winslet could ever be. That lead part should be hers. Jade did not say a word. She shut the door, and Ashley and Taylor heard her throw the deadbolt. Ashley was furious. Who does she think she is? Does she think she's better than us? Does she think she's a big deal now? Bitch. The male lead's door did not open. After a couple more minutes of waiting, Ashley turned and left in a huff. Taylor followed her back to their shared hotel room. Ashley flopped backward onto her bed. Taylor sighed and said, "Can you believe Jade Winslet actually got the part? How is she so lucky?" Ashley sat up and roared, "Shut up! You are so annoying." She flopped back down. Wisely, Taylor shut up. Episode 117, A Rocky Start. Ashley was already pissed off, and she was starting to think that Taylor might not be on her side anymore. The beginnings of a plan flashed into Ashley's head. Her smile was cold and evil. If Jade Winslet's a big star, then she can handle some heat. Taylor had known Ashley for a long time. She knew immediately that Ashley had something in mind, some kind of revenge she was planning. Taylor and Ashley had always been on the same side, but recently Taylor was inexplicably scared of Jade. After they'd locked her in the dorm, they had a lot of bad luck. Taylor thought someone might have been deliberately targeting them, someone who was getting back at them on Jade's behalf. Otherwise, there were a lot of coincidences happening. So what do you think we should do? I think we should just finish filming and leave as soon as we can. Taylor, you're useless. Serves you right to not be famous for the rest of your life. Ashley rolled her eyes at Taylor. What, are you scared of her? Of course not, Taylor said too quickly. Then she looked at Ashley, seriously. But don't you think it's strange? Since we locked her in the dorm, weird things keep happening to us. I think someone is helping Jade. She's not scary, but the person behind her might be. Taylor's expression was grave. I don't think we can afford to offend this person. Furthermore, Taylor remembered something else. Bob, who had once teased Jade at the bar, had disappeared for no reason. She'd heard that Bob had dropped out of school. It was another strange coincidence. It seemed strange that those who offended Jade Winslet didn't end up well. Ashley looked at Taylor with disdain. What are you even talking about? How could someone be helping her behind her back? Go away. I'm too tired to listen to your dumbass right now. Taylor didn't say anything else. Ashley's family had money. Jade was just an orphan without parents or power. It didn't seem worth offending rich people for her sake. The second day was the start of the filming of Decadent Lady, and the mysterious male lead was finally revealed. Everyone gathered. When Jade saw who it was, she was stunned for a moment. It was Michael Porter, whom she'd filmed with before. Other than Mike Porter, most of the actors were newcomers. The director seemed to be banking on Mike's popularity to attract an audience. It would probably work. Mike had a ton of adoring female fans who would watch anything he was in. As expected, Mike Porter's appearance caused a commotion. Just like yesterday, the other actors were very excited to see him. Some fans had also sneaked onto the location and were surrounding him, shouting his name. The scenes in the morning were flashbacks to their previous lives, so Jade and Mike weren't needed yet. The director took the opportunity to call them together and talk about the scenes that were going to be filmed today. Jade was familiar with the script. She knew there was kissing, and more intimate scenes too. But she hadn't expected to shoot kissing scenes with Mike Porter on the first day of filming. Jade had never filmed a kissing scene before. Of course, she knew it was just acting. Still, she couldn't bring herself to kiss an unfamiliar man, especially now that she was married. She could only imagine what Dario would think if he saw her kissing another man on screen. It suddenly made sense why everyone in the entertainment industry got married so late. Cade Zabe, the director, pursued perfection. He wanted the actors to really have chemistry and to look like they'd been dying to kiss each other. Audiences were picky about kisses that looked too much like acting. All right, the two of you go chat and develop your feelings. I'll give you 10 minutes. Mike, Jade is new at this. Take care of her, the director said earnestly. Got it, Mike said with a smile. He and Jade walked to a quiet place. Jade looked at him awkwardly. Mike was used to women screaming excitedly at the sight of him, but Jade seemed calm. This sparked Mike's interest in her. Jade Winslet seemed to be an unusual person. When she heard that she had to shoot a kissing scene with him, she actually looked unhappy. Did she know how many actresses were dying to shoot with him? Has he ever kissed an actress on screen who didn't become famous? However, Jade didn't seem to care. Don't you like acting with me? Mike's words were direct, but his signature smile was still on his face. Jade was surprised. She hadn't expected him to remember her. She felt a little guilty, too, that he had misunderstood her. Jade waved her hand as if to shoo away the misunderstanding. No, it's not that, it's just... She trailed off. Mike seemed to understand, though. You just can't kiss a stranger, right? Jade nodded uncomfortably. Although Mike Porter was still smiling, there was not a trace of emotion in his eyes. Jade had the sense that this person was a lot more complicated and less friendly than he appeared on the surface. Jade, I'm not trying to be mean here, but if you can't do this, you should probably pack up and go home. Acting isn't the career for you. When Mike said this, his tone was calm and informative. There was no hint of sarcasm. These words made Jade's entire body stiffen. She lowered her head and bit her lower lip, not knowing how to answer. Because he was absolutely right. If she wanted to make it in the entertainment industry, then she had to be able to put her emotions aside for a role. If she couldn't do it then, like Mike said, she might as well pack her things and go home. "I'm sorry," she said. "You don't have to apologize. Just get over it," said Mike. "Or you can close your eyes and imagine me as someone you do want to kiss." He said this lightly, as if kissing meant nothing to him. Jade considered this. Of course, she would have to think of him as Dario. But how was that even possible? He wasn't Dario. No one could mean to her what Dario did. "Miss Winslet," a production assistant was standing next to her. "It's time for you to put on your makeup." Jade started to get up, but a sudden pain blazed through her stomach. "Sorry, I need to go to the bathroom first." "Hurry up," the PA urged. "Shooting is about to start." "Sorry." Jade ran for the bathroom. Sitting on the toilet, Jade felt shaky and limp as she clutched her stomach. Cold sweat flowed down her forehead. She'd originally thought she would be fine after a bathroom trip, but the sudden awful diarrhea wasn't letting up. "Miss Winslet, are you okay in there?" came the PA's voice from outside the door. 10 minutes later, Jade was still in the bathroom, beginning to hope she would just die and get it over with. The PA was still outside, urging her to hurry. She finally walked out, supporting herself against the wall. She wanted to tough it out and to do the shoot, but she felt weak all over, and her stomach was killing her. When the others saw this, they immediately surrounded her. Among them were Ashley and Taylor. Episode 118. Sick on the set? As Jade supported herself on the wall, groaning, Ashley came up to her. "What's wrong?" she asked in a voice that was just slightly too sweet. "Do you need to take a break? You definitely can't film now." Ashley's face revealed a trace of schadenfreude and the ghost of a triumphant smile. From the side, Taylor asked, "Do you think it was something you ate?" She sort of wanted to help Jade, but Jade was having none of it. Jade looked coldly at her former classmates. Instead of responding, she bit her lower lip and tried to ignore her stomach cramps and nausea. "Don't bother with her. She's too stubborn. We should hurry up and tell the director she's sick." Ashley smiled. There was pride and contempt on her face. Then she immediately pulled Taylor away. Jade squatted on the ground. A wave of sadness joined her physical misery. Obviously, she couldn't act in this condition. Even if she could keep it together to perform, she looked like a corpse. She didn't know what to do. Surely it wasn't the climate here affecting her. She wasn't all that far from home, really, and they'd had grain bowls for lunch, made entirely of fancy, nutritious ingredients. The food she normally ate was much worse than that. There was a silver lining, at least. She wasn't going to be shooting a kissing scene with Mike Porter today. She didn't know what to do with the role she'd worked so hard to get. If she seemed unreliable, they would cast someone else. People were clustered around her, offering advice. "Why don't you go to the hospital? You can't go on like this. Yes, your health is more important. Did you eat something bad? You need to suck it up so we can stay on schedule. The nearest hospital is back in Washington. Who's going to drive her?" More than anything, the onlookers seemed curious about what had happened to Jade rather than concerned for her. No one here really cared about her except to resent her for getting the lead role. She looked around at these warm and indifferent faces and wanted to cry. "What's going on? Who's sick?" Cade Sape's authoritative voice carried over the crowd. The people surrounding Jade stepped aside, leaving her clutching her stomach with a pale face. The director was shocked when he saw her. He frowned. "Weren't you fine just now? What happened?" Ashley piped up sweetly. "Maybe some people aren't used to the food here." Taylor hurriedly chimed in, though she actually seemed a little worried about Jade. "You do seem like you're in bad shape. Why don't you go see the doctor in the village?" Jade held her stomach and stood up shakily. "Mr. Zape, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on either. It hit me all of a sudden. I have medicine in my room. I'll try that first." "Irene, take her to the village clinic. If she keeps this up, she'll have to go back to the city." He turned to address the rest of the crew. "Let's film something else first." After that, he got busy. Jade felt terrible. She couldn't believe this happened on her first day of shooting. She was worried that the director would think she was unprofessional and resent her for messing up his shoot. Irene, the PA, took her to see the doctor, who told her to take the same over-the-counter stomach medicine that she already had in her hotel room. The doctor said that there were many reasons for abdominal pain, and it would probably go away on its own. If it wasn't gone in a couple of days, she would have to go to the big hospital. After Caroline heard what was happening, she drove even faster than usual. When she entered Jade's room, which Jade had forgotten to lock because she was so miserable, Jade was hiding under the covers, whimpering. Seeing her like this, Caroline was surprised and concerned. Jade's stomach had finally finished emptying and felt a bit better, but she was almost too weak to move. "Caroline, I'm so sorry," Jade said weakly. She didn't know what else to say. Not only did she cause problems for the director, she also made Caroline, who was always busy, drop everything to drive back to the shooting location. Jade was so embarrassed. "What's wrong with your stomach? Is this a regular thing for you? Could it be food poisoning?" Caroline asked, intent as a detective cracking a case. Actors' health was very important to their careers, and therefore to her. Jade replied with a frown. "This has never happened to me before. I eat the same lunch as everyone else, a grain bowl." "Were all the lunches the same?" "Yes, I think so." "So everyone ate the same lunch, and only you are sick?" Caroline seemed to be asking her, but also seemed to be talking to herself. Her sharp eyes narrowed. Jade thought about it carefully. She nodded. "Did you eat anything besides the green bowl?" "No." Jade shook her head. "I guess I'm just unlucky." "Do you feel better after taking the medicine?" "I feel better. It's just that I don't have any strength in my entire body right now." "You stay in the room. Call me if anything happens," Caroline said. "I'll go out for a while. If you're not better soon, I'll have to take you back to the city to see a doctor." Jade lowered her head dejectedly. "I understand. Thank you for your help." For the rest of the day, Jade lay down in her room. At night, Caroline brought her a dinner of dry toast, applesauce, and peppermint tea. She was able to eat the food, and she began to feel less weak. When it was almost time to sleep, Jade remembered that she'd forgotten to call Dario. She picked up her phone, then realized he would be working right now. She put it back down. Right then, the phone screen lit up. So did Jade's eyes. When she saw that the caller was hubby, she found herself smiling. She answered the phone, and without waiting for Dario to speak, she called out, "Mr. Foster!" After the terrible day she'd had, she really wanted someone to talk to. She needed someone to rely on when she was at her most helpless, and now she realized that, of course, this someone was Dario. A familiar, deep voice came from the phone. "Do you miss me?" Jade had kept back her tears for the whole day. They finally burst out the moment Dario opened his mouth. They'd only been apart for a day. She hadn't thought she would mind being away from him quite this much. Jade nodded, then realized he couldn't see her. She sniffled and said in a thick voice, "I miss my husband." She was too tired to hide her feelings. "How much do you miss me?" Dario's deep voice carried a trace of a smile. Jade said forcefully, "Too much?" On the other end of the phone, Dario chuckled. He was clearly pleased with her answer. "But what should I do about that? Still working," he said in a low, warm voice. Jade hadn't slept well last night. The bed felt cold and uncomfortable, not because anything was wrong with it, but because she was sleeping in it by herself. She wasn't used to that anymore. She missed him, missed his embrace, missed his firm chest, missed everything about him. "Just work hard. Don't worry about me," she said sadly. She wished she knew how he felt, if he missed her, if he wished he could hold her. Their conversation fell into silence until he suddenly said, "Open the door." "What do you mean, open the door?" Jade was confused. Why would she open the door for no reason? "Open the door." He sounded a little nervous for some reason. Footsteps went past in the hallway, but Jade didn't give them a second thought. "Okay, fine," she said. Obediently, she got off the bed and walked to the door. When she opened the door, Jade's eyes widened in disbelief. There, at the door, stood Dario. Episode 119. Inside the hotel room. Jade rubbed her eyes. "Am I dreaming? What are you doing here?" As she spoke, she slapped her cheek lightly. Yes, it hurt a little. She wasn't dreaming. Dario closed the door behind her and swept her into his arms. His familiar and comforting scent surrounded Jade, soothing her. At the same time, her heart sped up. Jade could not help but reach out her hand to touch the exceptionally handsome face in front of her. She had to confirm whether he was real or not. Dario grabbed her hand and kissed it. When she touched his lips, she finally believed it. He was really here. But how did Dario know where she was? Jade hadn't given him the address or made a phone call. Yet somehow, he found the place. He'd said he was working. She had believed him. "You're too sneaky," she told him warmly. Her heart was so full of joy that she thought it might burst. Dario looked at Jade's pale face and shaky demeanor. His heart ached as he rested one hand on her back and smoothed her hair back from her forehead with the other. He looked at Jade with love in his eyes. "Are you sick?" he asked in a neutral tone. There was no expression on his face. He did not know whether he was happy or worried. "I'm fine. Maybe there was something wrong with my lunch." Jade smiled at him. "Or maybe I'm just too used to your cooking. You've ruined me for everyone else." Jade was really starting to wonder, though. So many people on the set had eaten the same lunch and only Jade got sick. It was a little suspicious. Could someone have tampered with her food? And maybe you're not used to the environment here? Dario rubbed Jade's stomach. Jade shrugged. Maybe? "How are you feeling? Is it getting better?" Dario's warm palm lay against her stomach. There was no discomfort. Jade leaned against his solid chest, the heat from his hand, his chest, his breath. She was almost intoxicated by it. "It's okay. It doesn't hurt at all. But why did you lie to me that you were working?" Jade looked at him shyly. "I missed you so much and you teased me. It was really annoying." "What? Don't you want me here? Then I'll leave." Dario smiled. He actually took a step back. Jade flung herself at him and hugged him hard. She didn't want Dario to leave, not ever. Jade's embrace made Dario's heart surge. She curled up, tied in his arms. He was her safe harbor. "Mr. Foster, you're so bad. I didn't say that. Don't go, okay?" She tried to make her voice sound light and teasing, but she realized she was extremely afraid. Jade's parents had already left her. She always expected other people to leave her too. She couldn't bear to lose the man in front of her again. He was too important to her. "Look at your dark circles. Without me by your side, you can't sleep at night." Dario leaned close to her ear and spoke in a low, warm tone. Jade felt very shy. Her heart was shocked. How did Dario know everything? However, how could she admit it? "Don't be ridiculous. I slept just fine without you. Better, in fact," Jade protested, staring into Dario's eyes. If she admitted that she couldn't sleep without him, she would be so embarrassed. She could live without him perfectly well. "Oh, is that so? Well, if I'm not needed here, I'll head back home." After saying that, Dario put on an exaggeratedly disappointed look. Although Jade knew he was joking, she was still very anxious. What if he really did leave? "I didn't tell you to go. You must really hate it here," Jade replied unhappily, pouting. "Then tell me the truth. Do you want me to sleep with you?" Jade felt her face turn red. She frowned and looked at the single bed behind her. It was plenty of room for her to sleep alone, but with Dario, it would definitely be very crowded. She didn't care, but someone of Dario's status would expect better. Instead of answering him, she bit her lower lip. "If you don't say anything, I will take it as you admitting it. All right then, I will reluctantly bring myself to sleep with you tonight." Dario saw the change in her expression and quickly kissed her on the mouth. Is sleeping with me that terrible?" "No, sleeping with you is the most comfortable sleep in the world. Your body is the perfect size and shape to snuggle with." He leaned closer and closer to her face until he could rub noses with Jade. It was a very intimate action. She pulled back. "But this bed is really too small. The two of us won't fit. I can't let you sleep on the sofa, right? On the floor either, right?" Dario could not help but raise his eyebrows when he heard this. He looked at Jade. "I came here from far away and you want me to sleep on the floor?" He pulled Jade down onto the bed with him. The two of them filled the entire bed. Jade shyly averted her gaze, not daring to look directly into Dario's burning eyes. "This way we can sleep together. It's the perfect solution." Before Jade could respond, Dario added another sentence that made her face turn red. "Help me take off my clothes." As he spoke, he took Jade's hand. He placed it on his belt. Jade's hand was pulled and slid along the cold belt. She could clearly feel that what was below was growing. She was under Dario, being warmed by him. He was breathing very close to her. His hot breath distracted and thrilled her. "Mr. Foster, we can't sleep like this. You make me uncomfortable like this." Jade protested underneath him. She wanted to withdraw her hand, but he still held it tightly. Dario didn't answer Jade. Instead, he squeezed her hand once more. Then he unbuckled his belt and slowly took off his pants and shirt. Finally, when Dario was about to take off his underwear, Jade pulled her hand away. She even covered her eyes, not daring to look at his muscular body. Jade was afraid that when she saw it, she would lose all control of her desires. Episode 120. What did Ashley hint at? "It doesn't matter. I don't mind you sleeping down there. We can change our positions." Dario grabbed Jade, turned her over, and tightly held her against his body. Then he slowly took off her clothes. His hands were like magic. Jade got up in a hurry and held her clothes tightly. "I'll change myself." For some reason, she felt that her heart would keep beating so long as his hands touched her. She also felt very strange. She quickly picked up her pajamas and ran to the bathroom to change before coming out. When she got under the covers, Dario very considerately turned his body to the side. That way, she would have enough space to lie down. She felt a surge of warmth in her heart, but her nose was sore. Sitting on the bed, Dario reached out his hand and pulled Jade's slender arm so that she could lean against his chest. Jade raised her head. Just as she was about to say something, Dario's kiss had already landed on her lips. She only struggled for a little before falling into his gentle kiss. She even took the initiative to greet him. Her hands were nervously pulling at the bedsheets. Dario knew that she wasn't feeling well, so he didn't stay any longer. He only kissed her pale lips for a few times and patted her on the back. It was as if he were coaxing a child to sleep. His voice was magnetic and charming. "You should go to sleep early to get lots of rest." Jade was lying on his body. Dario didn't know what had happened that day. He was still wearing underwear, but he was naked on the top. Jade's pajamas were very tight. When he pressed them against her body, he felt like she wasn't wearing one. It was almost as if their two naked bodies were tightly pressed together. Jade wriggled restlessly on top of his body. Then she slightly raised her head and softly said, "I want to come down." She actually wanted to get out of bed, but she didn't want Dario to misunderstand her. He narrowed his eyes and raised the corners of his lips. He said in a very ambiguous tone, "Do you like it down there?" As he spoke, he reached out his palm and pressed it against her elastic butt. Jade felt like she'd been electrocuted and her entire body bounced up. "No, your thoughts are too dirty. You'll ruin me like this. What I mean is that this bed is for you to sleep on. I can't sleep for the time being, so I want to go and memorize the lines." She looked at him with heartache. She noticed that his entire back was tightly pressed against the edge of the bed. If she wasn't careful, he would fall. At only 1.5 meters wide, the bed was too small for him, and it wasn't long enough. She couldn't let him go home to sleep in the middle of the night, but letting him sleep where he was didn't feel right. He had specially come all the way to see her. She didn't want him to have a bad sleep because of her. "If you can't go to sleep, I can help you do some exercise. I guarantee that you'll be sleepy very soon." Dario hugged her tightly. His hands moved all around her body. He could sense her intention and couldn't help but smile. "Forget it. I suddenly feel very tired. I'm going to sleep." Jade quickly got up and turned off the light. She rested in his arms and didn't move because she knew that he was a man of his word. She also knew very well what kind of exercise he was talking about. Jade really didn't expect that he would come to find her so soon, but the grievances she had suffered that day quickly disappeared in his warm embrace. "Sleep well. Everything will be fine when you wake up." Dario spoke very gently, like a lullaby. She merged with his light movements and was soon falling off to sleep. "I'm really happy to see you," Jade mumbled in a daze as she closed her eyes. In the end, she fell asleep with a big smile on her face. Dario watched her fall asleep. He took his phone from beside the bed and quickly sent a text message to Lucas. Lucas, who was dozing off in the car, quickly woke up. He looked at the text message with a blank face. He now had another detective job. Jade slept until she woke up naturally the next day, but Dario was the same as usual. He had already left. It was as if he was never even there. If she hadn't slept so well, she would have thought that she was dreaming. She remembered that the last time she was in the hospital, the same thing had happened. She clearly felt that he had been there. But when she woke up the next day, it was as if he had never come. I'm really stupid, Jade said to herself. She patted her head hard. Why was she so stupid? She was neither hallucinating nor sleepwalking. Dario clearly came to the hospital to spend the night with her, and then left before she woke up. She actually took the initiative to kiss him that night. The situation was very embarrassing for her. After Jade finished washing up, she felt that her body had recovered. Thinking that her wounds shouldn't affect filming, she rushed to the filming location. She planned to tell the director something. When she arrived at the set, she found Caroline McCoy there. When Caroline saw Jade come over, she went forward and asked her, "Are you better?" "I'm fine. I should be able to film today," Jade said with a smile.
"Go and put your makeup on first."
When Jade went to put on her makeup, she realized that Caroline had brought her a personal makeup artist from the company. Caroline said that the makeup artist was also responsible for taking care of her. Because the place was relatively small, Jade hadn't arranged for a personal dressing room. Everyone used the same dressing room, and when she went in, she saw two people she didn't want to see. "Jade, didn't you go to the hospital?" Ashley saw that Jade's face was full of surprise. Jade left for the makeup room, suggesting she needs to get ready. What was going on? She was in so much pain yesterday that she hardly wanted to live. Why was she so energetic today? Her complexion was also very good. How could she recover so quickly? She actually didn't return to Washington, mumbled Ashley. Jade was shooting 2 hours away from Washington. She was putting on makeup when she heard Ashley's words, and her eyes narrowed. She kept thinking about what had happened the day before. She remembered that the director had called her to discuss the plot just when she was about to eat. She had forgotten about her lunchbox for a while. Could it be that it had something to do with her? "I'm fine now. Why should I go to the hospital? Do you really want me to go there?" Jade asked lightly, revealing her thoughts. "How could I? I care about you a lot. I'm afraid that you'll feel unwell, but push forward anyway." While Jade was sitting down, Ashley watched her expression change drastically. Ashley couldn't believe that Jade had her own makeup artist. What right did she have?